Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Notre Dame Primetime Live presented by FanDuel. I am your host, Ryan Fravel, with my co-hosts, Ben and Sean. And tonight we have a special guest, our host over at the Voice of College Football, Indiana, Alec Keyser, everybody. Thank you, Alec, for hopping on. Appreciate you typing the time, hop in and talk some ball with us. I know we've had our little Twitter scuffles, but, we didn't get to formally congratulate you on your national championship, even though it pains me to say that. But how are you doing, man?
I very much appreciate it. First of all, thank you for the congratulations on the national championship. And I'm sure if you follow Ryan on Twitter, then you've seen me and him go back and forth. And so, I do like to play it up on X, but I am excited to be here and excited to join you guys and to have a good-hearted debate about who owns the state of Indiana.
Yeah, for sure. Because, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just because we're in that kind of lull where Notre Dame, Indiana basketball, men's-wise, not great. Purdue, I think, pretty much it just clearly just owns the state in basketball right now.
It's a football state.
It's a football state, yeah. But I think we're in that.
You guys keep hating on Ball State basketball, man. The cards.
Looking for another coach.
If you need your under the hit, bet on the cards.
But I think we're in that lull now where spring camps just kind of getting ramped up for us at least. And I know it's been going on probably for a little bit with Indiana. So you're kind of in that lull, right? There's not much to talk about. And it seemed like that warfare that kind of was on pause after you guys won the national championship kind of re-upped. I see everything on my timelines. Hey, man, not everybody can be Indiana and own the entire state of Indiana. And I thought it'd be fun to bring that to the show, kind of have an honest debate. I know it gets pretty heated on X, but like you said, Alec, I'm a completely different person. When I'm talking ball in person as I am on X. So let's get into it. Obviously, I know the first thing that's going to get brought up is you guys won a national championship this past year. Notre Dame hasn't won one in, what is it now, 38 years?
Who's counting?
I
am. And I know that's a valid point, and this has always been my take on this argument. Indiana was the better football team in the state last year. I'm looking at it. I think there's two different ways to look at it. Program-wise, I think Notre Dame still is the best program in the state, owns the state. It's just, and how I look at it is you guys won a championship last year. That's great. I look at it if I'm, let me put another rivalry in there in state. Auburn, Alabama. If Auburn were to win a national championship next year, but they had lost to Alabama that same season, or even the season prior, would they be able to sit there and say that they own the state of Alabama just because they won the national championship and Alabama didn't? That's kind of how I look at it. I'll let Alec kind of rebuttal, and then I'll let Ben and Sean kind of give their thoughts. But go ahead, Alec.
Well, it's funny. I think it's two or three different conversations built into one, right? Because you referenced the program conversation, and it's from my perspective, it's is Notre Dame a great program? If we want to have that conversation, it'd be a 2-second conversation. The answer is yes, we move on. I think when you want to compare Indiana and Notre Dame, you look at what Indiana's football history was prior to Curt Cignetti showing up. So before everything up to November 2023, again, this would be a 30-second conversation because there is no comparison between the football histories of Indiana and Notre Dame. But if you want to start at November 2023 and look forward, the conversation becomes a lot more interesting. But I think, it starts and ends with the national championship. Indiana is right now considered the best team in college football history. Not just this past year, but 16-0, first time in the forward pass era. There is a legitimate argument to be made that they're on that short list of best teams of all time, not just in the current aspect of college football. And so I think if we want to argue national championships, again, if we're going to have a discussion of history, it's not really a discussion. But if we're going to have a discussion of modern history, starting at 2024 and moving forward, it's also really not a discussion because both teams have played for one national championship. One team is bringing the trophy around the state, stopping in South Bend on Thursday, and the other team's Notre Dame.
I do think it interesting argument too is I said this when Indiana won. I don't think that Indiana was one of the best teams. I think they had the best season of all time. I think there's a subtle difference. I think when you look at the talent on team wise, people talk about LSU, people talk about this. I think Indiana has, I don't disagree with one of the best teams. I would say I do think they had the best season of all time. But when I do think of teams, people bring up certain teams from the early 2000s, the 90s, Miami, the Nebraskas, I do think that season was amazing though. I mean, and I do want to ask this before we continue. I'm a diehard Notre Dame fan, and this isn't a shot, but maybe it's because I never have had to, but I'm surprised with how many Notre Dame fans hate Indiana. I don't hate Indiana. I was rooting for Indiana. Like the story was the biggest Cinderella story in college football history. Like, how do you not want that for the sport? So I want to ask this to Ryan and Ben. Like, why do Notre Dame fans hate Indiana? I mean, it's because their history. They didn't have anything to back against us at all throughout their history. But B, like, it's such an underdog. Why wouldn't you root for them?
So here's my thing, and a lot of it comes off of X, right? Because that's obviously my main platform. Go back, turn the clock to the week of, or not the week of, the week of when the final rankings came out for 2 seasons ago. Notre Dame, Indiana, in South Bend, first playoff game of the 12-team era, all the excitement. Us Notre Dame fans were kind of actually disappointed that that's what we got it, because we wanted to have Alabama. That was like we wanted a Southern team to come play us in South Bend. And there were a decent amount of like Indiana fans at the time that were talking a lot of ish. You'd hear Kurt Signetti go on all the radio shows leading up to the game, talk about, Google me. All I do is win. We don't lose to teams like NIU here at Indiana. And it's like, oh my God, this dude is insufferable. And then, I was at game day, and you hear him, it's like 45 minutes before kickoff, and they have Signetti go on there, and he's still talking crap. And it's like, the Indiana fans there believed it. They were like, man, we're going to go beat you. You guys lost to NIU, this, and that. And it's like, cool, okay. We beat the ever-living crap out of them on national TV. We got to the point where Signetti, after all the big talk, was punting down 21.
Here, hold on. Because I've combated that point multiple times, because he does punt, right? But if you look at the way that game ended, Indiana has an onside kick to get the ball back to be down 1 possession. So it's like people call that a quote unquote losing move, but they were in the football game till the very end. And it was 27-3 at one point, but the game ended 10 points. So it's like you got to play a full football game just like you play a full football season. But it's like I don't disagree with
10 points, but their last score was
when Carson Hobbs is the one you score a touchdown on. Like, I think we can notice that.
When you're down 3 scores with less than 2 minutes left, the score at the end did make it look better. Like, I do think that Notre Dame dominated
I'm not here to argue that Indiana didn't get.
But I see your point that, like, yes, at the end of the game, it was a correct-ish move because you're trying to stay in it. But when every single week, you go in your interviews, you say, I'm the ballsy guy. I'm the guy who wants to win. Like, it's it's one of those things where it's a little messed up, where it's like, well, no, not messed up. Not saying that. What's the word? It's a little like ass backwards to be like, I'm going to punt when my team's season's on the line. Like, we need a first down. We're down by 20 plus points in the fourth quarter.
I'm surprised.
And that's why it's
about
like that.
A game that, I mean, they won the next year. Like, why are we talking about a game?
Oh yeah, it's not really.
Oh no, it's not that. So
but
I was kind of getting started. So that's where it started. After that, I was kind of like, don't really think about Indiana. We were focused on, Georgia the next week, beat Georgia, beat Penn State. That goes on. The next season rolls around, And you're not really thinking about Indiana, right? If you're a Notre Dame fan, we were thinking about Miami. We were talking about Miami all the way back in February after the season started.
We were thinking
Ohio State, us in Ohio State, like we were going at it on Twitter for a little bit after the Natty. Like we weren't thinking about Indiana. And then I think the minute we lost to Miami, we lost by that last second field goal. And immediately Penn State fans jumped down our throat. Indiana fans jumped down our throat. And I'm like, dude, like you guys got to play, what was it, Villanova and what was it, Old Dominion, I think was it week 1 for Indiana? And I'm like, come on, like we played Miami on the road. Meanwhile, you had Indiana who canceled, what was it? I think it was Virginia and Louisville last year in the non-con. I could be wrong. Alec, please correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I mean, we also play a Big Ten schedule that also doesn't include any of the Notre Dame fans going at Indiana fans, telling them that their season was worse. You know what I'm saying? So that goes both ways.
That's true.
It definitely goes both ways. So when Notre Dame lost, like it was full blown Indiana jumped down their throats, but it was like justified.
That's why, I mean, like for me, I was heavily rooting. Especially, it would have and even if it was not Miami, it could have been Ohio State, Oregon. It could have been on every other team in the playoffs, and I was rooting for Indiana, right?
I think my hate, Sean, comes from Cignetti. It's not as much Indiana fans. Not except when he plays Notre Dame. But,
well, no, and it's to the point that Ben was making. Like, there is a certain persona that he has in the media versus like what you're actually going to try and do to win a football game, and that's the only reason why I even hampered on the punting down whatever it was in the third quarter, because like you don't coach to appease the people in the media or appease the fan. You coach to win the football game, and so like while that was frustrating, not just for other fan bases, but for a lot of people in the Indiana fan base as well, and also like. A lot of people didn't appreciate the fact that he went on game day 45 minutes before the game and was like, we're going to beat the shit out of them, and then went out there and played like that. But like,
that's my number one thing with it.
I think you have to separate like coaching the football game versus like being a personality.
How much
and that's my thing with it. Like I'll make it clear, I don't hate Indiana at all. Like you can ask Sean, you can ask Frabel. Hell, I was at the D'Angelo Pons big red carpet game last year against Washington.
Yeah, decided to not go to a Notre Dame game.
No, that was different. That was different. You know that's different. And that was the year before.
I'm writing this down because it's helping me.
Frabel, don't make me expose you live on television. But no, like I was like, I've been to IU games. I've been to like, I'm not anti-IU. I was at IU versus Purdue when Trace Jackson Davis and Jalen Hood-Shafito beat Purdue in Assembly Hall. We rushed to court. That was my freshman year of college. When I was at UC, me and my buddies went to their IU students. We got tickets down the student section. So like I don't have any hatred towards IU. And I would say a lot of like great college memories have happened at IU. So I don't think I have hatred towards it. Now, what I will say this is I like Cignetti in a way of that he's someone that likes to shake up the system. He likes to piss people off. But there's a certain level, like it's the same thing of Dion. I love Dion when he came. He came in, he said, I'm bringing luggage. You motherfuckers better be ready, because like if you're not good enough, you're getting the fuck out of here. We're not doing this stupid shit of rebuilding. We're retooling and we're gonna compete. We're day one competing. But you have to be able to understand where the bullshit is coming in. Kirk Cignetti, the biggest game of his career, besides probably the Ohio State game at that point, 45 minutes for opening kickoff, his quarterback shitting down his leg in the locker room, and Kirk Cignetti's on ESPN College Game Day flaunting about how we don't lose to NIU. Like, I'm a guy, when it comes to coaches, the coaches put themselves after the players. The game does not matter. The only way the game matters to a coach is on the winning. That's the only stat that is recorded for a coach. So I don't think a coach should be out there flaunting like that before a game. If Marcus Freeman were doing it, I'd be like, what the fuck are we doing?
Don't you think there's a chance that maybe he did that for the players?
No.
That's what I was going to ask. Because I think
Sean.
I was wondering, and I want to
if you do that for your player, then your players have a completely different persona of what you're pushing out there as a coach.
Like, what if, because
motivating your before a playoff game, like we're going to go out there as your leader of your team.
But he's not in the locker room motivating him. He's on ESPN. Is pregame 45 minutes for a game? College Game Day is not on the TV in the locker room.
It was on the stadium TV. It was like on the Jumbotron.
Come on, like we all. It's better for him to be there with the players than it is for him to be on set. Is my main.
Now, the biggest thing is we're assuming is that on the Indiana player side, they probably didn't give a shit that he was on game day, right? Talking like if they did, that's where the issue would come in. If Curtis Rourke was like, "Hey, I didn't like that he did that. The team didn't." That's a different story. But I mean, who knows? Maybe that gave the team extra motivation. I mean, it didn't work in the game, but I mean,
I don't really see a world where that motivates your team for you to be on stage.
I think it's from the mindset, Ben, and like I kind of wanted to ask this of Cignetti. For I don't really care for the dude. I think he's a great coach. Begrudgingly, he's the best head coach in college football right now, right? And so we could all agree he's a smart dude. I wonder if he realized, hey, watching tape, Notre Dame is a superior team athletically than we are. We need to kind of go in this game with an edge, with a fire. I'm going to go and talk up my team all week, even 5 minutes before the game. Like, we're going to go out there and we're going to get this in belief that we're going to go beat the shit out of Notre Dame.
It would have worked against any other coach other than Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman is such a good players coach that he knows how to use that. There's certain coaches that it would have worked. It's just Marcus Freeman's such a good players coach that he knows how to motivate his team.
Well, James Franklin.
Like, you're going to let them talk about you like that.
James Franklin did the same type of thing at, was it the Orange Bowl Media Day, trying to like sun Marcus Freeman? And it's like, you could tell Marcus Freeman just going like, okay.
But we're looking at it on a Notre Dame perspective. Some of these coaches have done it against other teams, and it worked, right? They went out there with an attitude, right? I mean, we saw Marcus different, but we saw Marcus Freeman run out there before the A&M game, like just ready to roll.
But who did he do that around?
His players.
He didn't. Yeah. He didn't do it around Nick Saban, Pat McAfee, all that.
I think
there's the players.
There's a couple of different ways to look at it, right? Because I think this is where I thought Ryan was going with that, where it's like Curt Cignetti, whether you like him or not, very clearly watches a lot of film. He's the smartest guy in the room. I don't think that you needed to explain, or someone else needed to explain to Curt Cignetti what he was looking at on the film in terms of the talent disparity between Notre Dame in 2024 and Indiana in 2024. And so while you watched a couple plays like that, like the Jeremiah Love run, where he goes 99 yards and runs past everybody, and he's just the best player on the field, we come out of this football game talking about, I can't believe Curt Cignetti just went on ESPN, and not, I can't even remember who lost contain on that side. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I don't think that he ever goes into a football game thinking he's going to lose, but I also think, like, if you have the understanding, at least the way Indiana's team works, is that Curt Cignetti spends zero time interacting with the defense at practice. He spends a lot of time watching the offense, but he largely lets the position coaches work their units. And so while it optically, and like, you'd want the head coach in the locker room before the game in terms of like delivering the message to the team and like strategic X's and O's stuff, like that stuff's being delivered by the guys in the locker room, not by Curt Cignetti, who's going to give like some rah-rah-esque type of like, here's what we need to do speech, and then ready to roll. He coaches the coaches coach the players. And so I think there were a couple of different reasons why he did it, but also like, how legendary would that clip have been if they went in and like, instead of Curtis Rourke with his broken thumb and his destroyed ACL throwing a pick in the red zone, like Indiana comes in and all of a sudden they're leading 7-0 and everyone in the stadium shitting down their leg. Like, I can't believe that this Indiana team is rolling in here. Like, we're having a completely different conversation. And so I really didn't hate it, especially with the way that they then immediately retooled in the offseason, went into the 2026 season or 2025 season being completely overlooked and won a national championship.
Well, and that was the big thing. I think a lot of people, I will say this, me, myself, I openly said it, Curt Cignetti was a fraud after that game because he didn't do that well against really good teams, but also he got his talent. He proved me wrong. I was a fucking idiot for saying that. I'll admit right now. Like, but at the end of the day, like, there's a certain point where like he understood what he needed to do. And if he believes that's the best thing to do, good for him. He's a championship head coach. I'm a fucking IT guy at a hospital. So like he knows a lot more about football than I do. But at
than
the
all
time,
of us.
yeah, all of us combined. At the time when I'm watching that happen, and while I'm watching the whole offseason rail, it's IU fans saying like, oh, like he's trying to build a program. It's like you build a program by winning games. You build a program by showing the players you're there for them. And I'm not gonna talk like I know IU players, but if there's an IU player that probably didn't feel like his coach was there for him because it kind of felt like, hey, he's on live television, and someday you might hear that. So you might not, but you might. Like if Michael Hayden goes on Barstool tomorrow,
starter in the portal, that they retained every player on the roster that they wanted to retain. Like there was every part of like, because it was funny that the biggest issue that I was having with,
there's more than 22 players on the team.
I'm aware, but the biggest issue that I was having with the Notre Dame fan base coming off of that football game was this guy's a fraud. He's not building a culture, and everything that his players say about him is like, we love this guy. We would follow him off a cliff. Like, we just want to stay here and build even more. And so it's like, that's the part that people missed, where it's like, they thought Indiana was a bunch of mercenaries. They paid a bunch of money for this roster. Look, he's a fraud, poof, and gone. And in reality, like, there was a real culture being built and a double down and a real learning that happened in that game, where all those guys that walked into that Notre Dame environment and were like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm here, didn't look like that when they played in the big games in 2025.
And to be fair, I want to say this too, like he does like, and this is for Ryan before I ask my question to Alec. Ryan's one of the biggest shit talking Notre Dame fans I know. So I kind of imagine if Ryan was the head coach at Notre Dame, he'd be probably talking mad shit too. Right, to an extent, he has his certain, but he's such a trash talker. I'm like, like you're saying,
hold on a second.
Like, you talk trash.
If I will say this, I think for me and a lot of Notre Dame fans, I don't have like my thing with him, Alec, is I wouldn't sit there and say he was a fraud after that game. You could go through my entire X. I never once said that he was a fraud or anything like that. I was just more about it came off as arrogance to me and some other Notre Dame fans, is bringing up NIU, talking so much crap before the game. Because it's like, and I get, again, he could have so many reasons, like we talked about, why he did what he did. But as an opposing fan, it comes off as, dude, have some like self-awareness. You're coaching at a program that prior to your tenure had one previous 10-win season. You're talking crap about a team that, yes, we lost to NIU, but it just won 10 straight, beating the absolute dog crap out of everybody on the schedule, just like you had done outside of the Ohio State game. It's like with Marcus Freeman, he doesn't do that, right? He's not the type of coach to go out there and talk crap about a team before a game. The closest thing to that Ohio State fans will bring up is like his first season playing at Ohio State. He was asked about, like, what's it like being a former Ohio State player playing against your old team? And he's like, being at Notre Dame, I've learned that we actually have to do school here. And Ohio State fans took offense to that, obviously.
I mean, Quincy Porter said the same thing when he transferred.
Quincy Porter and Mylan Graham both said the same.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, didn't somebody just say that?
Remember, we had the guy who committed to Penn State because we told him he couldn't take classes online. So just remember.
I do have a question now. I wanted to ask. I said this earlier. I do think that Indiana is the closest we will get to a Cinderella story in college football. The March Madness Cinderella. Like, I think it's the greatest ever.
Unless Northwestern does it.
I was going to say Northwestern, Rutgers,
or a group of 5,
Purdue.
I do want to ask.
Rutgers already did it.
I always ask this, and I'm like, how? Right? Kurt Signetti, everywhere he went, from JMU. I'm from Virginia, so I knew him at JMU. Right? Goes to Indiana, and it just blows my mind that, like, I'm going to ask this, and it's like, how are you so good that no matter where you go, it doesn't matter? Like, you just go from JMU. You're successful. You have, double-digit win seasons. You go to Indiana and immediately make the playoff, immediately win a national championship. Like, it's like, how, like, that's such a 1%, like how good do you have to be? And why do you think that's the case? Like, how is he that good?
Obviously, Curt Cignetti gets all the credit because he is the big personality and he's the head coach. But the biggest thing that people miss when they talk about that move from James Madison to Indiana is that he brought his entire coaching staff with him. The only coach that was retained from the current Indiana staff was Bob Bostad, who was legendary Wisconsin offensive line coach who built up all those Wisconsin offensive lines that we grew up on. And so the quarterbacks coach, the receivers coach, and the offensive coordinator, the tight ends coach, special teams coordinator, the running backs coach, the D ends coach, the defensive tackles coach, Pat Coons, who you guys are very familiar with, the linebackers coach and defensive coordinator, Brian Haynes. And then they also went and hired the corners coach, Rod Ojong, and safeties coach, Ola Adams. But the coaching staff that they brought in and the culture they were able to create by not only bringing the staff, but bringing over 13 JMU guys that all played significant roles. They brought the entire program over and then infused the guys who could play in the Big Ten with Big Ten athletes. Like, Tom Allen's problem was not like recruiting the top half of the roster. It was everything else and trying to figure out like how to maintain a good football program and keep good coaches around. Like, Curt Cignetti showed up with an elite program at James Madison, got a Big Ten budget, and was like, cool, like, I'm just going to become modern day Alabama now. Like, people forget he was on the sideline. He was the recruiting coordinator and helped architect that initial Nick Saban national championship. And so while that Notre Dame game in 2024 was his biggest football game to date as a head coach, I mean, he won a national championship as part of that Nick Saban staff. So that's a guy who had been there, done that at every single level of football. And so the continuity and the culture that most people spend 2-3 years trying to create by recruiting through high school, he just showed up with.
There's going to be a regression of some sort. I mean, even if they win a natty, I don't see them going 16-0 again in a natty.
I agree.
With the regression aspect.
If they do, then they're going to build the fucking statue within a day.
They're building one anyway.
Do you think that there's a chance that they could miss the playoffs this year?
I would be surprised, only because of the amount of time, effort, energy that Curt Cignetti put into roster construction. Like, he is the general manager. And so he's sitting there, he's watching all the film. He met individually at least 30 minutes each with all the transfers that they brought in. And so while they had to replace a lot, they're bringing back 4 out of 5 starters on the offensive line. They brought in Nick Marsh, but Charlie Becker's back, who's the number 1 receiver in the country from week 11 on. And then on the defensive side of the ball, the 2 linebackers that they're bringing back were Elijah Hardy and Bones Jones. Were all Big Ten guys, borderline All-America guys.
You got Burnham from Notre Dame. That's a really good edge.
Well, who's awesome.
Well,
that's a solid edge get. I don't care what you're going to say about.
And he looks big in camp too.
Hey, Sean. Like, he's good, but he was going to be a rotational
Holy
guy.
shit, Frable. Come on.
No, bro, come on.
Pat Coogan's good. Patrick Coogan was good, but he was going to be behind Craig this year.
He was.
So it's okay that we lost him.
So thankful. Was he not? Thank you guys so much.
Was he not? Was he
not?
He was
going to be behind Craig. I did hear
this.
I don't think Indiana makes the run they had without Coogan.
Because Ashton Craig.
100% not.
Because Ashton Craig is a better player. That's the whole thing.
I went back and forth with some Indiana fans about this. They're like, oh, well, Marcus Freeman made a mistake with Craig. I'm like, 132 college football coaches would make the same mistake. No one saw Pat Coogan like that. Pat Coogan, the leap from even like and we got fucking dominated by Ohio State in the middle. The leap that Pat Coogan made from last year to this year was a strong, like humongous. And in certain situations, I think Pat Coogan was better this season than Craig when Craig played. But at the end of the day, like 132 teams make that decision. All 30 NFL teams make the same decision. But Patrick Coogan just proved like, hey, you all 132, all 30 teams, you're all wrong. Like, I had a better season. So, yeah.
I still think Ashton Craig is still the better player. I also think he got his degree from
Notre Dame, and he knew that he wasn't going to start. So, I mean, it just made sense. He got what he wanted. He made the natty with Notre Dame. He knew that. Same thing with Rocco Splendor. They played because of injuries. They knew that when all of these players were healthy, they were going to be backups again, right? I mean, that Notre Dame playoff team, they said, was one of the most injured playoff teams that they've seen in the playoffs.
Well, we made it that far. We made it that far with nine starters out.
I don't think we make it that far, and I said the same with Indiana. If Pat Coogan's not on that offensive line, he's such a good leader.
Rose Bowl MVP.
That he
okay,
brings
Sean,
together a unit.
Sean, I think
Sean's preaching right now.
I think Coogan was really good for the playoff run we had. I think player-wise, Ashton Craig was a better player than him, and there's a reason why he started over him before and after that. He got the injury.
I'm not saying he's a better player or not a better player. I'm saying that we made the run that he did because he was so passionate about being the position that he was in that he led that team. You saw the videos before the Orange Bowl. You saw the videos before the Sugar Bowl. He's sitting there saying, let's fucking go whoop their ass and show them what Notre Dame is fucking about, and is the one leading that offensive line out.
Was it 4 quarters of fuck you football?
I don't think we win those games. I'm not saying we don't win those games. I'm saying, especially to Penn State with how close that is, I'm just saying that without him, I don't know if we are as successful. And I think it's the same with Indiana. Like Alex said, that he was such a good leader for that team that he was able to lead them as a leader. He might not be as good of a player as, Ashton Craig, Charles Jagas, all of these players. But as a leader, he was probably a top 3 player leader that we had on the team last year.
So Sean, here's my thing. And
real quick, Indiana absolutely doesn't. Indiana does nothing this year if Pat Coogan is not the starting center. I mean, listen, they would have won football games, but if they had to figure out somebody else besides Coogan and fit in with the other 4, he was quite literally exactly what Indiana needed in every, as a leader, as a football player with the experience, the ability to play in big games, having a different perspective, everything that he brought to the Indiana locker room was exactly what we needed.
Yeah.
I like Pat Coogan as much as the next Notre Dame fan. I love the kid, but the thing I get annoyed with Indiana fans on X was, especially after winning the Natty, is you guys, like you said, Ben, you guys made a mistake. You guys let the wrong guy go. Same thing now with you guys getting Burnham. And it's Indiana is doing a building of their roster still mainly from the portal. We bring in 4 and 5-star offensive linemen every single cycle like it's nothing. We have a 5-star offensive lineman in Charles Jagasaw who he missed an entire season pretty much. Comes in against Georgia, Penn State, was critical in those games and hadn't played football in a year and was that good to where he was able to perform in those games. He's missing now another year, and there's talks that we might just tell him, hey, either enter the portal or medically retire. You would start for pretty much any Power 4 team, but we've got guys behind you that are 5-star freshmen that we got to find some way to get on the field, go somewhere else, or medically retire and go get playing time. Same thing with Burnham. Burnham was very good for us the last few years. He was going to be a rotational guy with Keon Keeley coming in, 5-star Rodney Dunham coming in, who looks like right now he's going to start alongside Traore. There was a lot of things.
Can we talk about how Coogan?
Go ahead.
Can we talk about how he did the portal the right way, though? He didn't just leave after 1 year because he wasn't starting. He got his degree, and I'm sure Freeman was like, you might not have a guaranteed spot to start, and he went and found that after he was a starter at times, after he finished his degree. He had 1 year of eligibility left, and he went to Indiana. He's probably going to be drafted at some point this year, right? I mean, I think that
absolutely.
I will talk about how he did the portal the right way. Not a lot of.
I don't know. Barstool's got that pipeline at IU now. They got that pipeline for starting centers.
Well, the real Coogan recruiting story is that he may or may not have a significant other on the campus.
Yeah. I do.
That's always
by that I mean his girlfriend won't buy you. So
that's some Deuce Knight shit, low key. That's some Deuce.
No. That's some Peyton. That's Peyton Bowen you're thinking of.
It helped at the end of the day. Football. I'm not saying that was the reason. Football obviously was, but we're in talking about who owns the state. I'm glad you kind of brought up the fact that Notre Dame has this factory of 4 and 5-star recruits coming in, and obviously the last recruiting class unbelievably impressive. And I want to ask you guys though, how many recruits from the 2026 class were from the state of Indiana?
None. We didn't have a single one from Indiana.
Yeah.
You know how many guys they had from the state of Indiana in 2025?
One?
Like one?
No, it was actually
From
3.
Bayou.
It was 2
Three,
in
okay.
2024. So
I know
since
Brandon
Kurt's-
Logan, like Logan.
No. Tay Johnson. Tay Johnson was.
Tay Johnson was 2024.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
he
year
was
before.
24. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but so it's
Yeah.
5 total since Kurt Signetti showed up at Indiana. In the same time span, Indiana has recruited 15 in-state prospects.
Well,
So
to
it's like,
add on with that,
Do you
just
think if they
actually,
were elite
Fish,
enough
Alec,
that they
wait,
would've-
Sean,
Let Alec Fish. Yeah.
Alec, finish what you guys saying. I have something to respond with that with.
And so, like, I know Notre Dame's recruiting, I guess, strategy is very much focused on the national and like they're recruiting from the Catholic schools across the country and things like that. But like, if we're gonna have a who owns the state argument, as I'm wearing an Indiana hat to show my university, it's like we're recruiting from the state of Indiana.
If there was a 5-star in Indiana, where's he going? If there's a 5-star in Indiana, where's he go?
Probably Ohio State.
Well,
I was
the
gonna say
problem
there is one right now, and his name is Marshawn Sales.
And so here's the thing with this, and we need to understand that there is a separation here between Notre Dame and Indiana, and one big thing with recruiting. University of Notre Dame is not like Indiana in one way. They're not like Ohio State in one way. They're not like almost every Power 5 school and Power 4 school, Power 5 school one way. It's harder to get in the University of Notre Dame to be an athlete than this to Indiana. And it's something, it sucks. We complain about it all the time, but it sets a little bit of a standard for ourselves on the kids we go for. And I mean it in the best way possible. It's better for recruits, but I mean in the best way possible. A lot of the kids that are getting recruited out of Indiana, I don't believe they have the grades to go to Notre Dame. And it's purely because of the way that they don't go. They're not looking at Penn State. They're not looking at Notre Dame. They're not looking at Michigan. They're looking at Ohio State. They're looking at other schools. That's usually in your top 5s. It is. With those kids,
Indiana's a better Indiana's a better academic school than Penn State. I just want to put that out.
Yeah. No.
Well, in certain ways it is. In certain ways it is, yes. But Penn State has always been a school that's been wrapped or not. Why did I say Penn State? I'm
thinking Michigan.
I'm thinking Michigan, Northwestern,
like Vanderbilt to a certain extent. Like
I don't know why I don't know why I said Penn State. I meant Northwestern. My bad. But like those guys, like when they get offers from those schools, they don't post those schools. They don't even post actually they might post Notre Dame because of the name, but you look at it from the college basketball standpoint, college baseball standpoint, college football standpoint, those schools aren't getting posted unless it's Notre Dame for college football. And so I understand points to it that getting in-state recruits is really good. And yes, you're probably dominating Purdue because you and Purdue go for the same guys. Are you in?
I'm not even
Michigan
talking about recruiting battles between Notre Dame and Indiana. I'm purely talking
about.
Well,
I'm saying is period, like the Indiana kids, like if we're talking about the kids who play high school football in Indiana, Notre Dame's not going after those kids. And realistically, Indiana high school recruiting isn't the best.
It's a good argument by Alec. My response to it though is owning the state would be who had the overall better class. Right, that would just
no, it would. I mean, that would be the better recruiting class, but that wouldn't be owning the state of Indiana.
If you want to say like Alec, like I'll agree. If you want to say you guys own the state of Indiana in terms of recruiting, I'll give you that. But I do think, for instance, right? Like
I don't here because I'll preface it by saying I don't like you can only base recruiting classes off of recruiting rankings because I'm not privy to the all 22 film, and I'm not sitting there watching all these guys, and I can't personally rank them. Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the number 4 ranked Notre Dame class headlined by Joey O'Brien and all those freaks in that class is a worse class than what Indiana is bringing in on paper. What I am saying though is that if you're going to talk about specifically owning the state, recruiting the state is a huge part of that.
I think part of it though is hold on, Sean. I think to rebuttal that though, I would say if there was like a guy like Tay Johnson, right? Let me put that out there. Tay Johnson, Drake Bowen. Those are 2 guys that we got from in-state, and Notre Dame, like Ben said, it's very rare nowadays for Notre Dame to recruit the state of Indiana, just because, like you had mentioned, Alec, we're a national recruit. We go get, like Freeman talks about.
Partially because you guys can.
Yeah, you get your DBs from the South. You get your offensive linemen from the Midwest or the Northeast. You get your defensive linemen from California or Florida, and that's kind of the philosophy, right? And It's like, but if there is a Drake Bowen or there is a Tay Johnson or even like a guy like Mylan Graham who admitted himself, he's like, I wanted to go to Notre Dame, but I couldn't because I didn't have the grades at the time at high school, and so I decided to go to Ohio State. If there are kids like that, like Munshon Sales, who I don't know if I haven't really kept up because since we kind of dropped out, but
and that's
Ohio
where
State,
Alex
Indiana,
program, Notre Dame being the better program, they would pick Notre Dame as a program.
I think it's still Notre Dame.
I would say Notre Dame was the better program up until Fernando Mendoza showed up at Indiana, because if we're moving forward, like, what are you going to measure the program in? And it's national championships. How can you not? And Indiana has one and Notre Dame doesn't.
Well, you measure the program off of success. You measure the program off of their ability. I understand you won a natty. Like, that's biggest thing, like 100%. I'm not going to argue with you there. But you have to look at more than just 1 year of football, because then we would say Auburn's a better program than Georgia for the longest time. But we all knew Georgia was a better program before they won national
championships. Or other metrics of NIL, of money.
Like, here's a good one. USC, our little bro. Certified little bro.
Well, no, USC was the better program when they were winning national championships.
But I'm saying USC is won a more recent national title than Notre Dame. But nobody who watches college football in their right mind would sit up here and say, well, yeah, USC is a better program than Notre Dame. USC owns Notre Dame.
They had a Heisman. They've had a number 1 overall pick. They have number 1 overall recruiting classes. Like, if you're going to sit here and say all these things are like positives for Notre Dame, like the recruiting stat, like being top 5 in recruiting, like USC is all of that forever.
But I like the head-to-head thing.
The USC's biggest problem is that, yes, they have all that, but what do they have in the past? They have Caleb Williams, who did absolutely nothing at USC. He won a Heisman.
Got embarrassed.
That's the only. But let me finish, Rachel. But as a program, what did USC do with Caleb Williams? Absolutely nothing. They lost to Tulane, or was it Tulane or Tulsa?
Tulane.
They lost to they lost to Tulane with a Heisman quarterback. So as a program, USC didn't do shit. Now, if you want to say, if you want to be a Heisman quarterback, go to USC. Then I guess sure. Like,
USC is quarterback.
They're.
Oklahoma is close. I would say with
I would give to Oklahoma
winning the Super Bowl again.
I give it to Texas Tech.
All right,
Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, and Baker Mayfield.
Ben says no, and he said no. It doesn't matter. I think it's a fun Notre Dame Indiana discussion. Ryan is more like 100% yes. I'm more like there's a chance. Like, I think it's a great matchup. I do have the opinion I think Indiana would win, but I also do have the opinion, I want to know if you agree. I truly believed that Notre Dame was one of maybe 4 teams that could have beaten Indiana. I don't think they would have beaten. I think they could have. And the reason I think they could have was because, especially how Mark Fletcher did in the Natty, he looked pretty good. I imagine, Price and Love being able to run the football, but then if Indiana's trying to stop the run, you have Carr being able to throw the ball. That's such a good variable to have, that the offense will be fine. The defense was talented. I think that game is a good game. I still think Indiana wins, but I want to know if you agree that, and we'll talk about the snub, bring this into the snub we had talked about before the show. Do you think Notre Dame is one of the teams that maybe could have, not would have? I know you're going to say Indiana would have, but do you think that Notre Dame was one of the teams that probably would have done better against Indiana?
Well, I mean, I've hosted Indiana Hoosiers Live for a little while, and I say a lot of things into the microphone. And one of the things that I've said into the microphone on our live show was that I thought Notre Dame was going to be in, and I thought they were the scariest of that bottom group because of the NFL size on both lines. But and because you have an absolute freak in Jeremiah Love, who's going to justify being a top 5 pick as a running back. Like that type of alien in the backfield, and what they can do on both lines, and what they can do lining up in the secondary. Like, I know they got torched against Texas A&M, but those 3 corners are as good as any 3 corners in the country, right? And so you start thinking about individual matchups and how teams can match up. That being said, like, CJ Carr left a lot to be desired. There's a lot of different film junkies and things like that. I mean, CJ Carr, I'm sure, would tell you that he would have liked to have had a better season than he had. The way Indiana's defense played, the experience they had, the ability to confuse the quarterback, and their ability to stop the run. You needed a freak like Jeremiah Smith on the outside to be able to even threaten this Indiana secondary through the air, and I don't think that's something Notre Dame had. So like, there's absolutely a path where you're riding Love and you're doing, but what Notre Dame did so well in that playoff game, and I'm sure you guys can attest to, is that Riley Leonard was awesome, and was it Julian Faison or Jordan Faison, or
Jordan
I thought he was the
Faison.
best player on the, besides Love. I thought he was the best player on the field. Like, we couldn't cover him for anything, and so like, I was super impressed with the way Riley Leonard played in that football game. I am fairly confident that Brian Haynes would have terrorized CJ Carr this year.
I think it would have been interesting on the aspect of how Miami played y'all good with Beck and the experience that Beck had with how Notre Dame played Miami. I think that comparison of, Notre Dame played Miami good, Miami played Indiana good. That's fun to like make it a circle, Notre Dame, Indiana.
Oh, 100%.
Which by the way,
with all the NFL talent on Notre Dame, I think you can argue that they could beat anybody in the country, which is why I imagine it was so frustrating for the Notre Dame fans to be told they're in for 14 weeks and then be ripped out.
Well, and here's my thing with the Notre Dame Indiana debate. I'm in the same boat as Sean. It's a hypothetical matchup, but I thought with the teams that Indiana struggled with last season, 6-6 Penn State, Iowa team that plays really good defense, not great on offense, but they run the ball. You struggled a little bit with Miami and their running game. And I look at it, I'm like, what those three teams do very well, Notre Dame does very well. And specifically with Iowa and Penn State, Notre Dame does 10 times better than those teams do. Right?
Notre Dame would not have played Indiana at home, though, like, this is the biggest thing that I was trying to tell people about the Indiana Hoosiers, is that the only way I've ever seen any program, regardless of who they are, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Penn State, Iowa, disrupt a Curt Cignetti football team is when they can disrupt the communication on the offensive line. And like, yes, there are plays throughout the football game where just athletes are better, right? And you just line up and win. But the crowd noise and the communication is a massive, massive thing. And like, if Notre Dame had Indiana at home, I think it's much more interesting. But again, like, Notre Dame was having trouble stopping Texas A&M. Like, Indiana's passing attack and the ball placement of Mendoza.
To go back to that game,
I will say on that point, the Indiana offense versus Notre Dame defense would have been what decides the game. But I don't think we should look at Texas A&M, because Texas A&M, we all know, like, that was the turning. I would say the second half.
I mean, we were a missed extra point from.
Well, no, but
Tyler Buckner.
The defense. What I'm saying is how the defense was doing their job. Like that, I would say second half Purdue is like kind of where we flipped the switch. We kind of changed things up. We talk about like Chris Ash kind of got told like, you got to fix your problems here. Like, the defensive play calling is not working out well. We need to fix the problems. And realistically, like, I hate doing like the hypothetical games between the two teams that didn't play and like they don't really have matchups comparable, because us playing Miami week one is not the same. But like, Miami played us week one, you guys played in the final game of the season.
It's like
you could argue that Miami was better the final game of the season than week one.
No, I think Miami played a lot better week one than they did the final game of the season. Well, we did. Yes, Miami played a lot better. Carson Beck didn't have a single turnover.
They were home in the final game of the season.
But Miami didn't have a single
Indiana
turnover.
didn't trail at all.
Sean, hold on, Sean. That wasn't a home atmosphere.
But Miami did. Yeah, facts. Miami fans can't afford tickets.
Come on.
Miami in the first. This is a good thing for IU. Y'all could do it. You took over fucking.
We got a lot of alumni.
Yes.
Yeah, all those IU kids showed up.
Like, so here's my thing.
But the first week of the season, Miami played a lot better against Notre Dame as a whole team compared to against IU. Miami made a lot of turnovers. The block punt, that was a big one. Dude, that did not happen week one.
Can I ask you a question? That's kind of a dumb question. Don't you think that's because Indiana was a better team?
No, because you're making mental mistakes. I know, but you're making mental mistakes. That's completely different than being outplayed. You're making mental mistakes. Carson Beck, that was a stupid throw by Carson Beck. Also, you had guys make better plays against us than they did shoot.
Also, the plays that
was Indiana outplayed by Miami?
No, I don't think Miami. Okay, no, I think they both played each other to the same amount. I'm saying Miami made too many mental mistakes to make up They didn't have enough talent. They weren't better than Indiana to make up for the mental mistakes.
I agree with what Ben said because I was at that Miami game in person. Miami, and this is where like I kind of disagree with Alex's point about CJ Carr. CJ Carr played a fucking amazing game against Miami in his first career start.
I could see points where he didn't do the best.
On the road, by the way, with his offensive coordinator strapping training wheels for the.
I'm not saying he's not a good player, but he did lose those 2 football games against teams that were ranked behind Indiana and against a team that Indiana played.
But they weren't his fault. That's the thing. Like they weren't his fault. The one against Miami
points on offense. Against A&M, the defense allowed 47 points. When Miami,
that's not on Carr.
He throws 3 touchdowns, has 1 pick that's tipped that Miami wins. I think that CJ Carr wasn't the reason that we lost both those games. He just wasn't the reason we didn't. He wasn't the reason we lost, but he wasn't a reason we didn't win. He was a reason. Like I get it.
I've had this conversation with Miami fans about that game since that game happened, and you Miami fans talk a lot of shit. They're one of the most insufferable fan bases to deal with. Alec, I'm sure you dealt with it leading up to that game.
Still dealing with it somehow.
Even them, right? After that game, the amount of Miami fans like, dude, CJ Carr, he is a dude. He is that guy. Like
he was a gamer.
He was getting absolutely killed in that pocket every single time. Bro, Emil Wagner got turned into a Roomba by Ruben Bain damn near every single snap. And this man just dropped 3 touchdowns. He had the 1 interception that was mainly on, like, it was on Carr, but it was also on the offensive coordinator because you called 23 RPO bubble screen plays against Miami for no reason when you realize
because
at that point
true sophomore ever Carr's
he's
gonna be much better this year because of those experiences, but it feels disrespectful to call him a kid. But like he was 19, 20 years old, like taking his first snaps in front of 2 first-round defensive ends. Like that's not an easy thing to do. So it's like I don't want to sit here and be like I feel like I'm crushing the kid or like saying he's not a good football player. But
I think he had moments.
He's a first-round pick.
I think he's a projected first-round pick right now. We'll see. Like I think Carr had, and I agree with you. Like there were moments right against USC in the rain. Oh, that was one of the worst games I've ever seen him play. But
that was the game. If you remember me saying,
I was going to say the same way people are talking about CJ Carr. Like, is he a first-round pick? We'll see what people are saying. The same things about Fernando Mendoza. He comes into the Indiana system. He wins a Heisman. He's going number 1 overall at the end of this month. Like it's, I have 2 kind of like fun, like sillier, I guess, data points to spin the conversation back to who owns the state of Indiana. If you guys know what the Sachem Award is. It's the highest honor given out by the governor of the state of Indiana. Indiana's Curt Cignetti obviously won the award this year. It has never been won by a Notre Dame head coach. Curt Cignetti is also going to be the Indy 500 pace car driver this year, the first football coach in the state of Indiana to receive that honor.
I pray to God that he would be the first one to do it after winning a national championship in Indiana. That's what. Wait a minute. I mean, this is the best way possible. You know, Alec. If fucking Matt Painter next year wins a national championship at Purdue, he gets the same treatment. Let's be real. You know it's true. Okay, he drives the pace car. I don't know about the Medal of Honor thing, but he drives the pace car at the 500. We know
Notre Dame had more national championships this year than Indiana. Okay, our fencing team and our lacrosse team won the national championship.
Okay, but back on topic.
Indiana swimming and diving. We have a dynasty.
I understand where that's like a big thing. Like if you want to say, oh, well, our head coach is doing this. Notre Dame as a whole, and we've all said it. Like I'm a rare Notre Dame fan now because all the Indiana fans jumped ship once they became good. I'm a rare Indiana.
Another reason why Indiana, I guess that's another reason why, and I know like a lot of the Notre Dame beat writers were hammering this point into the ground until I feel like I was the one to call it out and be like, you guys are just pointing out that there's a mass exodus of Notre Dame fans who are now becoming Indiana football fans because
like if you want the reverse jacket fans, you could take them. I'll send them in a boat.
Which Alec, by the way, as an Indiana fan, right? And I think me and you have had this conversation on Twitter before. I'm sure you, as a genuine Indiana fan, and me as a genuine Notre Dame fan, I can't stand the reverse jacket fans and the fan bases.
It's infuriating.
There was, I can't remember, it was a couple months ago. There was a guy who was talking crap to me under one of your posts. Me and you were going at this guy hops in, and I'm like, this dude. He created his account in 2024. I scroll all the way down. Picture of a dude in a Notre Dame jersey talking about "Let's go Irish" at the Notre Dame Indiana game, and I'm like, you were a Notre Dame fan last year, and now you're talking crap about Notre Dame, and you're a diehard Indiana fan. And
that's the strongest argument for Indiana now owning the state.
It's like I
think it's okay.
If you want the least committed fans, you can take them.
But that's you're saying people in the middle are now drifting one way. They're drifting towards Indiana. That's not the strongest indication of who has the hearts and minds of the state.
I'm a diehard Notre Dame fan.
It's a weird flex. If you want to take it, you can take it.
But I think it's okay for hey, I'm always Notre Dame, but I'm okay with rooting for Indiana in the national championship. If Notre Dame makes the national championship next year, I think it's okay for Alec to want Notre Dame to win the national championship without.
There's nothing wrong with wanting. Wait, let's make it clear. There's nothing wrong with wanting Indiana dominancy, like the whole state of Indiana just dominating the world, because that's what we want. The Colts are gonna win the fucking Super Bowl. The Indiana Pacers are getting. Tyrese Halliburton's coming back. AJ the Bands is going to be the first overall pick in Indianapolis. The Fever are going to win the WNBA Finals if they play a season. And Notre Dame or Indiana is going to win the fucking national championship. And then Purdue's going to fucking lose because that's what they do best. So, the dominance of Indiana. That's all it is.
Sean, nobody's
the sooner you
saying,
guys accept it, the better it is.
Sean, so there's two different things.
I know.
Hold on, Sean, hold on. Sean, hold on a second. I know you're cutting out, so hold on a second. I live in Illinois. You can see the Illinois helmet, aka Juice Williams signed helmet back there. I'm from I'm from Illinois. I literally lived a couple years in Champaign, literally a block from the university. I had some family that went there to school. I get it. If Illinois basketball right now, I'm not an Illinois basketball fan, but it's cool that, hey, let the home state win something because they're dog shit and everything else, right?
Take me to the Balkans is call the tournament.
Yeah, cool. Is it cool when Illinois football?
Alec, are you from Indiana? Because I want to make fun of Frable without offending anyone else. You're from Indiana?
Actually, funny enough, I'm from New Jersey, and not that Notre Dame recruits a lot in the Shore Conference, but they recruit a little bit in that area. And there's a couple kids that I played against in baseball, a couple kids that my friends played with in football that ended up going to Notre Dame. Well, Quentin Nelson being one of them. Quentin Nelson actually took my buddy's starting spot in high school.
Why are you a Indiana fan? If you don't mind?
He graduated.
I went to IU.
Right?
He probably went to
IU. I didn't know. I'm just
yeah.
I mean, I'm
IU
reaches
up
my father.
IU reaches pretty far in that area.
But no,
our families know.
But my main thing I was gonna say is sadly, Frable, he's from Illinois, a lesser state. He's not from Indiana, where we just have dominance over everybody.
Hey, you know what?
Cincinnati fan.
Chicagoland, Notre Dame owns Chicagoland. All right, so Notre Dame owns the city in which the Big Ten Conference, their headquarters is in. I hope you understand that. So,
I do have a prediction I wanted to run by you guys because I know we have this. I don't know if it's a home and home but we have the game in 2030 or 2031. But I'm in my head, I think Indiana and Notre Dame end up playing a scheduled football game before that, and I don't think it's that one.
A scheduled game, not a playoff game.
Not a playoff game. I think at some point in the next couple of years, they're going to move towards whether it's a super conference or a super league or something where it's these are the schools that actually care about winning in this sport, and in some way, shape, or form, we're going to get this matchup on the calendar.
Which I think it happens. I was going to say I could see a higher chance of us facing as conference rivals than there is of us facing in that game. I bet you if we're not in the Big Ten by the time of that game gets canceled. It's just the way college football is currently going. It sucks because it's all about money. No, it's good. We said the same thing about a whole bunch. We're looking at Alabama.
This is like
we said USC Notre Dame would never end, and look where we are now.
No,
it's the way college football is going. It's the way college football is going. And But no, but it's the way college football is going. It's all about like teams are trying to find wins in the season that they can set up for themselves. And I'm not going to disrespect Indiana if they don't want to. If they don't want to go to South Bend, and that's fine because they're not the only team that's going to do it. And this is why I said after we didn't make the playoffs, I believe it now. I still believe it to now. I still believe it till then. I think by the time of that game, we'll be in a conference. We'll be in, if it's the Big Ten. I think it should be the Big Ten. I think that's the easiest with the Peacock
I don't
deal.
think we're going to join the Big Ten.
I would rather be in the Big Ten than be in the Big 12, and I would rather shoot myself and watch ACC football. So, like, it's just that bad. But I think at that point we'll be in a conference. I think it'll just be as Alex said, just a scheduled yearly game.
I would personally love to play Indiana.
Right now. Notre Dame right now is the only team I think that is keeping us right now from super conferences being independent. I think eventually when they join a conference, that's going to be what creates the super conference.
Which traditionalists that are pissed that Notre Dame's not in a conference, they're going to be complaining. When
even
Notre
more
Dame
pissed.
And then like, well, see, Notre Dame ruined what made college football great. Now we have just a super conference.
The problem is with the conference standpoint is that it's all about money. It's not about football, and that's what it's all come down to. If every team could go and support their own teams, their own school, like if every school could go support women's lacrosse, women's volleyball, men's soccer, stuff like that, like baseball, softball, or shuffleboarding, if they could support that completely fine, I just still want to single out the women's sports, but if they could support that with no problem, every team would be independent. We know that. It's the conferences are for safeties of sports.
Alex, do you agree that besides this year, of course, because but traditionally Notre Dame's schedule isn't as bad as what people make it to be?
Yeah, I think the whole schedule debate for everybody is weird because you have opponent adjusted metrics anyway. And then if you're going to play playing a playoff at the end of the year, like you play in a playoff. I think back when you were deciding the national championship by poll, and if somebody goes 12-0 playing the worst schedule in the country versus like 10-2 playing the hardest schedule in the country, I think there are some gripes, but it's like people give Indiana shit for their non-con, and it's like ignoring the fact that they play 9 Big Ten conference games. Like Notre Dame, for as quote unquote like easy as their schedule is, started off the season with arguably the 2 hardest games in America. So it's like, give them as much crap for their schedule as they want, but it's like, you can't argue that Notre Dame's not playing hard games or aren't going out of their way to schedule. So it's like, I personally get frustrated by the scheduling argument because I've had it attacked in different ways, but it's like, you're Notre Dame, you're independent. Like teams are going to run from you guys. Like they're not going to go and lose a non-conference game to Notre Dame, especially when you're seeing the committee be wish-washy on whether or not they're going to even value the value of Notre Dame's roster, which is loaded with NFL players. So it's like, no.
Let me ask you this, Alec.
I think it's silly that people make fun of their schedule.
When it comes to the scheduling argument, I got into this kind of goes back to the whole snubbing thing. People brought up Alabama should have got in because of how their strength of schedule is, right? Which to me, I hate strength of schedule, especially when it's talked about with the SEC because they use that a lot. They use it going into your game against you guys. I know Alabama fans use that. They talk crap about Ohio State not really having a hard schedule last year. And then you go look at Alabama's schedule, and I'm expecting some gauntlet. Preseason, yeah, it looks really hard. But then you go down and you're like, Vanderbilt, not a single ranked win. Tennessee, no ranked wins. Missouri, no ranked wins. But these are considered
preseason top 25 South Carolina. That's a tough game.
But these are considered ranked wins and benefits to their strength of schedule. And you go look at Missouri is 8-4. I wonder why. Their best win is against Louisiana. Like,
yeah, the preseason AP polls, which are opinion based anyway, give this weight in these like SP metrics or whatever, and they like all those SEC teams that are ranked in the top 25 with no business being there other than the fact that people know who the brands are. It throws off the way that they get ranked for the rest of the season, which is unbelievably frustrating because it's like, what are you actually trying to do? Are you trying to figure out the 25 best football teams, the 25 best brands, your 25 favorite football teams? Like there really kind of isn't a rhyme or reason to the way some of these people are sending in those AP ballots. And then they use that to try and make a justification about what's happening on a football field. And it's like,
Yeah,
that's not what the metrics. It's not what the metrics are.
And I've had
people
this
think
idea
rankings shouldn't come out till week 3 or 4.
I'm in that boat.
I say we should not. The first rankings we should get are after week 6 of the season, because at that point you're 3 games into your conference schedule, and then for other teams you play enough of your out conference schedule. You know where you stand.
Yep.
I think the problem is, and here's my issue, right? Is people bring up Notre Dame's schedule, and I this was my debate with Alabama fans that entire time was, they're like, well, we play a tougher schedule. We have, more wins with teams over, 500. It's like, okay, cool. But you also lost and got embarrassed to a 5-7 Florida State team. Alabama fans don't want to talk about that game. That Florida State game never happened, according to Alabama fans. Then you bring up, you got lucky early in the season against Georgia when they were trying to figure out their offense. They were a wide open dropped pass that would have been a touchdown that would have won them the game away from beating you. And then we saw that game rehashed, and Georgia had massively improved and just embarrassed you on national TV again. You lost to an Oklahoma team.
Alabama got credit for beating Georgia twice.
Yeah, you lost to Oklahoma, who had the worst offense statistically to ever make a playoff. You lost to that team.
You lost to Iowa. You lost to SEC Iowa. That's why.
It's like, yes. And it's like, well, but
and this is coming, Georgia. And this is, I did not come up with this myself. An Oklahoma fan told me that I'm okay with us being SEC Iowa. And they have openly admitted it. They said, if we're fucking really good at basketball and we're just a really great defensive football school.
Which is wild. 5 years ago, when they were
one of the best offenses
they were the best offense in the college football.
They were terrible at defense, and they were amazing at offense.
Venables, though, is a great defense.
I want to watch. I want to ask Alex this question. With the Notre Dame Alabama debate, we talked about the strength of schedule and everything like that. Where did you fall on that originally? I know you thought that you thought Notre Dame was going to make it in heading into the final rankings, but I find it very. They pick and choose which week 1 losses matter, right? Like our Miami loss. Well, that's what kept you out. Okay, well, you lost to 5-7 Florida State. Wasn't close. Why does that game not matter? Well, we beat Georgia. It's like, okay, you also lost to Georgia. To me, that should cancel each other out because you faced Georgia again after they had improved, right? What were your thoughts on that whole debate from an unbiased perspective?
I mean, I thought it was pretty obvious that Alabama was the odd man out, and when it got even when it came to I'm sure you guys were watching the announcement show where they're going to the different campuses and they get to Notre Dame and it's super confident, we're in, and I was like, holy shit, they're super confident, that's insane. I was stunned to see them out, absolutely stunned to see them out.
Yeah,
and I have a question for you, Alec. Going into because you prepared for the Alabama game, you were a fan, that you were ready for it. Who were you? The hypotheticals here at the end of the day, it does not matter. Hypothetically speaking, who would you have been more scared of? Preparing for the game. If it was Notre Dame and Alabama, would you have been more scared compared to what you were going in with the Alabama game? Or less confident?
The reality is whoever was coming to meet Indiana in the Rose Bowl was running into a buzzsaw. You gave Curt Cignetti and this team that needed a ton of rest, 3 weeks of rest, a confidence boost, and a bunch of time to watch film. The problem with when you start getting out of the top even 5 or even 3 of college football is that these teams are really good, but they're flawed. I think you guys would even admit that Notre Dame, while a really good football team, was a flawed football team. Giving Indiana 2-3 weeks to figure out what the flaws were and attack those flaws. If we want to lean into the conversation, Notre Dame's better on the offensive line and on the defensive line than Alabama. And so when you're going into any football game, I would rather play against the team that I can push around on both lines. So from that sense, yeah, I'd much rather play Alabama.
I want to bring this up too.
I'm sure you were nervous how big of a program Alabama is. This is we're about to play Alabama. There was no at all.
I'm an advanced stats guy, and I the advanced stats told you that it was going to be a slaughter.
My favorite statement from Indiana fans on Twitter heading into that game is, "This isn't your daddy's Alabama team. This isn't Nick Saban's Alabama team. Like, now, I'll be honest. After Nick Saban left, Kalen DeBoer has made Alabama a lot less threatening to play.
Yeah,
like
because he doesn't play Alabama football.
Because it's like you're not playing the brand. If Indiana was playing the brand of Alabama football, where Jalen Hurts is lining, or Tua is lining up at quarterback, and you have Derek, he's handing the ball off to Derrick Henry, and Julio is on the outside, and it's like they have all those dudes. It's like, yeah, what are we talking about? If we're playing a Legends game, like, yeah, that's a slaughter. But no, we're playing a football game in the year 2026. Like, Indiana had the number one quarterback in the country, the best defensive back in the country, two top five. Omar Cooper is going to be a first-round receiver. Elijah Surratt should be a first, second-round talent. He's going to end up probably somewhere in the third. Like, Indiana had dudes all over the football field. Like, they were not outgunned or overmatched from a talent perspective in this football game. And you saw the way they pushed Alabama around physically in that football game. Like, it was, I'm not a brands guy. What are you showing me on the football field, and what do the advanced metrics say? And you can't lie about the numbers. That's why it's like every time you try, like the Alabama fan tried to be like, yeah, we're big bad Alabama, or like we're bringing this whole brand. It's like you can't hide from the fact that Ty Simpson drops back and it's 0.2 seconds before the guy's getting murdered. Like,
and the other thing with
you can't hide from the fact that you can't run football.
2-7 since the 12-team playoff against non-SEC teams in the playoff.
But Kalen DeBoer, realistically, he's not playing Alabama. He's not even playing SEC football. He's playing Washington University football. He's playing Pac-12 football. I'm going to go to the outside. No, I'm not going to meet you in the middle. I pray to Jesus Christ our quarterback gets rid of the ball before your D lineman rips his head off. That's Pac-12 football. That's why the Pac-12 didn't win shit when they played SEC and Big Ten schools.
That's why, like, we saw what happened when that Washington team played Michigan, who plays a more SEC Big Ten physical style of football. And Michael Penix got absolutely torn to shreds in that game. And that's why, that's why before we were scheduled we got Indiana on the playoff 2 years ago, I was like, give us Alabama. Please give us Alabama. We are not scared.
I'm not going to lie. It would have been more funny for SMU not to make it and Alabama to make it. And then Alabama gets absolutely steamrolled by Penn State. And just like Kalen DeBoer gets fired the next morning.
You know, what's
punted off the cliff.
What's wild is, for Alec and I, on the aspect where it's when you compare, especially before Indiana won the title, like let's Notre Dame and Indiana play, how the program trajectories were. And it's like Notre Dame beating Indiana at the time was the biggest Notre Dame win in my lifetime. And then it's like Indiana winning the national championship is Alec's biggest win. And it's
hold on a second. No.
Wait.
Well, I think, and that's
wait.
That's the
Sean,
root
that
of
was
this.
not the biggest Notre Dame win of your lifetime. We made the national championship.
Which one are you still talking about, though?
At the time it happened.
You're not talking about Penn State and Drew Allen.
Okay, at the time it happened, I can agree.
I think Georgia was a bigger win than Penn State.
Because I vividly remember when the first things came out and me and Sean were breaking down our playoff predictions. Sean goes, well, because we were talking about what would be a successful season. And he's like, well, beating IU is beating IU. Like, you just expect that. And then it was like, but if you beat Georgia is like had been the standard of college football for the past 3 years. Like, Kirby Smart probably could have three-peated if they would have gotten in 2023. And it's like, oh, that's the game. Because I remember we beat Indiana. I asked John, you happy? It was Indiana. Like, it's like, well, no, it's not. That was the level of what we looked at.
Now, I'm going to say it.
Nobody's going to care that we beat Indiana. People are going to care that we beat Georgia. That's just how the reality of college football is.
I would say
that's how it was in
Indiana
2024, like the December of 24. But now fast forward to March of 2026, and we're sitting here, and the Irish fans are still talking about beating Indiana in December of 2024. And Indiana has, again, a national championship trophy tour going around the state, which is showing up in South Bend on Thursday. You guys can go see the trophy.
Well, like, the thing is, though, is that we keep comparing, like, oh, when was like if you're gonna compare which team's better, which program's better, you're gonna go off the one that wins more recently. You're gonna go off the one that wins overall when the programs are compared that way.
At what
that's
point,
gotta get and that's my thing. And Frable's got a cat on his back there. Good job.
Yeah, I do.
No, but
just keep chopping up here.
But at the end of the day, if we're gonna compare programs, you have to compare that. And if you want to be like, oh well, we have a national championship in the past decade or 3 decades, or who cares? Who gives a shit? No one cares. But if you want to say like, oh, we have a national championship and you can see it on Thursday in South Bend, that's fine. But at the end of the day, we won the last game against you. It's kind of like Ohio State, Michigan, but except not like that, where Michigan's like, okay, Ohio State won the Natty, you didn't beat us that season.
I kind of want to get to the point.
So there's the talking points there.
I do have a question for Alex. Indiana. So
I wish we did. I think
before we decide like who's better programs, who do you think this upcoming season does better, Notre Dame or Indiana as a program? I know Indiana fan. I mean, I know your answer, but why?
Well, I was gonna say I'm glad you asked that because I do have just to have it. I have a bet slip of the Indiana over Notre Dame under next to each other, so I can have that screenshot when it happens. But I think that if CJ Carr takes a big step forward, I think obviously Notre Dame could be the best team in the country. If it's a very similar CJ Carr, then I think it could be a very similar Notre Dame team. But I think, again, like if you're going to say which program's better, what's the question, right? Because Indiana's program is the arrows pointing completely up, coming off a national championship, building all sorts of recruiting momentum, like dominating all over the state in terms of like notoriety and press and things like that. If you want to talk like history of the two schools, again, there is no conversation up to 2023 because Notre Dame dominates that. But if you want to talk modern history between the two schools, Indiana's hardware, like their trophy case is bigger. And so it's like, how else can you measure that?
And what?
Well, I think if you talk modern history of the schools, you would still say Notre Dame just of the dominance of the 2000s compared to Indiana. At the end of the day, you have to take into the fact of those bad seasons. I understand
like
the national.
We're not talking about we're not talking about the 2000s though. We're talking about
2010, 2020
the state of Indiana.
But you're trying to say which
that was 20 years ago. The 2000s.
You're trying to say which school has done better in this recent time. You still have to take
2 years. It's not even a question.
Okay, in the last 7 days, Notre Dame has done better than Indiana.
Nothing's happened.
Wait, we just out-recruited you on the field. Wait, we just got a guy you wanted. We've done better. That means we're a better program.
Isaiah Rodgers. You guys offered Isaiah Rodgers first. You also had a visit scheduled with Nick Marsh. Nick Marsh didn't even make it to campus. What are you talking? Like,
hold on a second.
You're getting somebody who's not going to help you this year.
Practice for wearing gold cleats. What are you talking about?
He changed and was back at practice making plays. Like that's why you're
trying to. But the problem is that you're being facetious. You're trying to stop it. Okay, these past 2 years, only thing that matters. No, the past, I would say at least 10 years should matter for a whole program. If you're saying who's done better in Indiana, because at the end, if Indiana goes this year and wins the Natty again, I hope
in 2026.
But you have to look at the whole. You can't just look at 2 years and be like, oh, we're stopping at 2 years. Because you have to look at everything total.
That's actually. It's the Kurt Signetti's Indiana football. If you're going to talk about anything past that, there isn't. I can't even have the conversation.
Indiana football has played
that's
football.
What I'm saying.
Did Indiana football line up and play football the past 10 years? Did they put a team on the field?
They did not care about it to the level that
did they put a team on the field? Did they put a team on the field?
It's a different. That's what I'm telling you. There's two different conversations here.
You can't just. But you can't.
Yes, you can.
2 years. No, you can't.
It's a different program. It's an absolutely different program. It's a completely different program.
It doesn't matter. It's still the program. Your program still has that history.
You're
still the second. Hold on a second.
What's the issue with saying that Notre Dame the last 10 years was a better program, but since Kurt Signetti, Indiana has been the better program?
Okay,
but
I said that repeatedly.
But we're not talking about who's the better program in 2 years. We're talking about who owns the state. So who's been the better program overall?
Indiana, very clearly.
So Indiana, the second losingest team in college football history, has done better overall than Notre Dame and all.
You're
of
saying
Indiana.
Who owns the state right now? It's the team taking the national championship trophy around the state.
You can't just say, "Oh, only the last 2 years matter," because that's just such bad faith.
Okay,
I understand you're saying it because you believe
I'm not.
it.
No, I'm not. I'm telling you in the last 2 years. No. Ben. I'm not telling you only the last 2 years matter. I'm telling you in the last 2 years, the answer is Indiana. Before that, it was Notre Dame, no question. Since Kurt Signal showed up, it's Indiana.
But the stream says who owns the state, Indiana or Notre Dame. It doesn't say who owned the state in the last 2 years. We're talking
Indiana
about who owns the state
currently. Indiana has more in-state recruits, has won a national title more recently.
Like, you can have in-state. You can get the bad players.
Has won awards in the state that.
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on, guys.
I got a question.
Ben, hold on, Sean, hold on.
You don't recruit the state. How can you say you own it?
Alec,
because we don't need to recruit the state.
I want to bring this up. Hold on, Sean.
Alec, if Notre Dame finishes better this year, Alec, because this year Indiana, yes, but let's say Notre Dame makes the playoffs, Indiana doesn't. Would Indiana still own the state to you because of the Natty, or would Notre Dame having the better season put them back up? Like, what do you view on that aspect?
I think it's a stronger argument, but at the end of the day, if they don't win a national title, then it's just like.
See, that's the thing. The only parts of it that matters is the 1 year Indiana did really good and they won a Natty. And I'm just sorry, but if we're
I'm telling you,
since
Kurt Cignetti showed up on November 30th, 2023.
Okay, but what happened before November 30th, 2023?
They were the worst program in Division I history.
So you can't own the state.
And that's what I'm telling you is it's so asinine to have that argument that it's not worth having. You're saying what's better, Notre Dame with their 20 national titles, or the worst team in the country, the worst team in this whole time.
This whole stream is asinine. We're gonna complain about what's asinine.
Right, hold on a second, because it's getting a little.
It's a topic.
Let me ask this question, right? Because I think where Sean was going was perfect, but let me ask it in a different way. What if next season, Alec, both teams make the playoff, both are top 5 teams, they play in the semifinals, Notre Dame beats Indiana for the second time in 3 years. Marcus Freeman at that point is undefeated against Kurt Cignetti when they face head-to-head. Hold on.
These are beautiful hypotheticals.
Hold on. This is just for the question. This is just for the argument's sake. It's all
you guys just want me to say yes, Notre Dame would be better. Indiana twice.
But say Notre Dame beats.
Well,
Indiana,
per your standards, that's what it should be.
Well, hold on.
I don't disagree, but why do I need to say it?
Well, no, I'm
because
just saying
then you're showing Indiana. Bad faith if you just keep saying, "Oh, well, the last season was the only season that mattered." That's my point.
Hold on. But if Notre Dame beats Indiana and then goes to the national title, say they come up short, say they lose, I don't know, fucking by a touchdown in the national championship. Does then the Indiana national championship that they had the year prior trump the head-to-head results, or is it kind of just because I get where you're coming from, right? I totally get where you're coming from, Alec. For me, it's just hard, and this is where I kind of get frustrated because I wish we would have got to see this Indiana team that won a national championship play last year's Notre Dame team. Right? Not saying that you guys wouldn't have won. I'm just saying that I wish we could have seen that because I think it would have. Who knows? Maybe it ends this debate right now. Because I'll be honest, if Indiana would have beat Notre Dame last year on the way to the national championship, I couldn't sit up here in good faith and have this argument with you. Right?
The only reason why this is even an argument is because they didn't meet on the field this year.
Yeah,
and because Notre Dame can look at that 2024 team that was 75% like quote unquote mid-major group of 5 talent coming up. And then you look at the way Indiana has been able to build from the Power 5. Like they were playing with a different level of talent.
I wouldn't discredit that Indiana team though.
And I'm not. I'm absolutely not. I'm being like brutally honest about what that Indiana team was. They were unbelievably good. And I think Notre Dame is one of a handful of teams that could even give them an issue that the fact of the matter is we ended up playing them at home. So it's like, what are you going to do?
You lost to 2 teams that won the Natty. I mean, the Natty. That's successful.
But I think if Fernando Mendoza and the 2025 Hoosiers walk into that same game, like I think we end up walking out of that football game.
Well, then that's a hypothetical. Like I don't know.
Exactly. That's the same hypothetical.
But that's why I didn't want. That's why I didn't want to get the hypothetical of the Miami versus Notre Dame thing. Like when we were like, who would win Notre Dame or IU this past year? Because hypotheticals don't matter. There's really nothing to compare it besides a game from week 1 compared to a game from the end of the season. Teams play differently, and that was my whole point I was trying to make earlier. That like, yes, was Notre Dame playing Miami week 1? Yeah, but that team's a lot different than week 12 Notre Dame against Syracuse. But like I said, I just don't think if you want to say Indiana owns a state, you can't just say like, oh, 2 years. That's the only thing that matters. You have to look at everything. You have to look at the program as a whole. You have to look at the standard that the program sets. You have to look at the success overall as a program. You can.
I'm saying all that leans Indiana since Kurt Cignetti showed up, and that's what I think is being missed here. Is that
I totally understand what you're saying. Is what I'm saying is that it's kind of just you can't just say, oh, Kirk Cignetti's you're kind of just saying, oh, Kirk Cignetti, time started at him.
Yes,
everything happened.
That is actually exactly what I'm saying.
But that's a terrible argument. Like, if you want to down the hill, but that's terrible.
Here's how I view it. Nickelodeon.
That's the only argument. That is the argument, because there is no other way to have the argument, because the other way to have
you
it
can
is
look
like
at the past 10 years of success of a school.
This is how
the past 10 years of success would dictate Indiana is never winning a national title. Not that they're going 16-0 and having the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft at the end of this month. People need to this is a completely different program. Kurt Cignetti's history and Indiana's history are different.
But if you're saying who owns
different track now.
But if you're saying on who owns the state, you can't just say time starts at Kirk Cignetti. Nothing before that matters, because it doesn't.
I'm saying it was Notre Dame until Kurt Cignetti showed up, and now it's Indiana.
I'm going to say this. This is how I compare it. Remember, Ryan, when we were growing up, you know, Nickelodeon, yes. SpongeBob, right, was the 20 years without a doubt voted best Nickelodeon show. And then you see a screenshot of Nickelodeon from 2000 to 2015. And it has the pictures of SpongeBob, and right in between is Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? Voted as the best Nickelodeon team, right?
You're talking about history as fact when we're talking right now. Indiana is.
But I think there is no season. Indiana is the better. Is the team owns the state this season?
Thank you.
He's right.
I don't think that. I think that they were the better. I think they were the better football team.
Like, you look at an overall landscape of the history of Indiana. Notre Dame owns Indiana, but you talk about this year, Indiana owns the state this year.
But that's where you're comparing teams to programs. Indiana is not going to roll out the 2025 team every single year.
That's your opinion.
That's
no, you're not going to. You said Fernando Mendoza is getting drafted next month. He's not on that team. You're not going to roll that team.
Fernando Mendoza is 1 of 1, but they're going to roll out Josh Hoover as a top-of-the-line transfer portal quarterback.
You're saying a hypothetical that you could possibly do it.
Josh Hoover is the starting quarterback at Indiana coming into this season.
You could hypothetically do it again, but we don't know that. What I'm saying is based off of what we know.
Notre Dame. Hold on a second. Hold on. Oh God, that is bad.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. That's But I could also say the same thing. Notre Dame is the odds-on favorite to win the national title. Notre Dame has the
not according to our presenting sponsor, FanDuel. It's actually the Ohio State University.
Oh, did it change? Yeah. Okay, I haven't.
Notre Dame's higher odds than Indiana, so Notre Dame.
Okay, anyway,
Notre Dame plus 700. Indiana's plus 800. So it's like, and exactly these are these hypothetical crowns that Notre Dame can award themselves.
But you're giving yourself a hypothetical crown that you're going to keep doing this in the future. That's my point.
I'm saying based on what has been put on football fields in the last 2 seasons, Indiana owns the state. Culminated in the last time college football was played, Indiana was a national champion.
So this is my point. This is the point I wanted to make. Yes, Indiana was the best team in college football. They own the singular 2025 Indiana Hoosiers own the state of Indiana. But as a program as a whole, Notre Dame owns Indiana because they're actually competing at a high level every year. They're sending players to the draft every year. They're beating out Indiana on recruits every year.
Significantly stronger than Indiana's. But if we're going to start,
saying which program? We're saying program here.
Indiana is a better program right now. Indiana is absolutely a better program than Notre Dame.
No, they're not, because they're getting out recruited by Notre Dame. The only thing Indiana did was they put one of the best teams on
at the high school level. Not in the transfer portal where
I recruited at both. We had to hire. Wait. Let me pull it up. I don't want to be wrong.
Hold on a second. We don't need.
So Indiana owns all of college football world right now, but they don't.
We had
the state that they're in.
Wait, hold on, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
We don't need to recruit transfer.
Okay, when you put it that way, like it sounds ridiculous because it is ridiculous. Like,
we don't need to use the transfer portal like Indiana does because we get 5, 4, and 5 stars in the recruiting cycle every year.
Well, I'm talking about
Notre Dame had a higher
left campus.
But that's because you guys paid him a bag.
If I was
Notre Dame wasn't going to pay him a bag.
No,
we don't know because we don't know if he was going to come on campus.
You think he got $4 million?
That's what was reported.
Nick Marsh got told he left campus. No, Nick Marsh's own agent came out. Nick Marsh's own agent came out and said that if he left campus, that there was no guarantee the offer would still be there. You basically told the kid, "Here's a shit ton of money. Leave campus. It might not be there. We'll know if we're gonna give it to you." But also Notre Dame had a higher recruiting transfer portal class than IU did this year as well. So they're dominating recruiting, and both high school and college level they dominated in recruiting.
They're not recruiting the state, and it's who owns.
It doesn't matter if you recruit the state because the state's not good at football. Indiana high school football is that good compared to California, Texas.
That's not. But
Florida,
the question is not what high school states are good at football. It's who owns the state of Indiana. And
it's which program.
Hold on,
you're getting 3 stars who can't get recruited by top level schools. Good job. You're beating out Purdue. You're beating out Ball State. You're beating out.
You're speaking based on opinion. You couldn't tell me 1 3-star Indiana offered from the state of Indiana.
You want me to pull it up right here?
Yeah,
I can tell you from 10 years of me watching high school football that Indiana as a state is not better than California.
And
Texas,
I'm not telling you they are.
Florida,
I'm telling
Alabama,
you Indiana
Tennessee.
owns the state, and your response is Indiana as a state isn't good at high school football. You're not acknowledging the question.
You cannot use that against a team because they want to recruit better athletes. That's not
the question.
But
the question isn't whose recruiting class is better. The question is who owns the state.
You're trying to say it's a strike against Notre Dame because they don't recruit worse
about
athletes.
owning the state. It absolutely is.
But it's the better program. That's the question of who owns the state. Who's the better program?
No, that's not the question. Who's a better program is the one who just won the national championship. Like, what are we talking about?
I don't know if they're a better.
The better team was Indiana last year. Doesn't make you the better program all time or in the past 10 years.
But the question is the question is not who is the better program all time. It's who owns the state. That's what you keep changing the question to make your answer. It's not the question.
It's always been the same question. We said in the beginning, it's which program is doing better, which program owns.
Monshon Sales is from Alabama. You should do some research.
Sorry, you're reading the guy on the thing. I thought you were talking about that.
No. That was
my bad.
Like, oh, sorry. That was disrespectful, and I apologize, and I'm sorry.
No, I'm being an asshole. I'll openly admit I'm being an asshole for interrupting.
Hey, you know what? Like at the end of the day,
we're all chill. We're all chill.
Like, yeah, this is just.
But my
Monshon Sales, his nickname right now is Showtime. But growing up, that kid's nickname was literally Bama. And right now, the 2 schools leading his recruitment are Alabama and Indiana. And he's the #1 player in the state of Indiana.
I thought Ohio State was in on that.
They're in on it. So is Miami, but it's Alabama and Indiana.
I don't disagree. I'm kind of in the like. I think
I am mad.
I think Notre Dame is the better program than Indiana. But Alec is right. This year, Indiana owns the state. This year,
I think the Indiana team owned the state. I don't disagree.
I think here's my thing, right? And to go to Alex's point, if you want to just use the last 2 years, yes, you have the national championship. Notre Dame has the head-to-head. And I'm going to be that guy because we got told this shit all season last year is
the games have to matter.
The games have to matter. Head-to-head, end of argument. But
if it was the same team, I would listen, if Notre Dame beat this Indiana football team in week 1 and then Indiana went and won the national championship, they could be like, we were the last team to beat that Indiana football team. But being the last school to beat Indiana and beating the national champion are 2 different things because the national championship team didn't lose. Fernando Mendoza wasn't the quarterback of the team that went up into Notre Dame. Pat Coogan was the center of Notre Dame when they played that game.
So because you mentioned that Indiana has owned the state since November 30th of 2023. I would say that started this year because at that point Notre Dame had still owned the state that particular season because of that.
The natty.
So making the natty, beating them head to head. And I agree. I think Indiana as a program, the trajectory, but I would also argue that Notre Dame and Indiana are on the same level as in terms of program trajectory. Notre Dame
was already there. Indiana has reached that point, and the arrow is still pointing up.
I would say you guys had a bigger climb in a shorter period.
100%. Not even a question.
There's not even a question. But I think the Notre Dame team, even the one that we've talked about from the past 10 years, the Brian Kelly teams, those were about the same level as Signetti's Indiana team that we played in 2024. Yeah. They would win the games and they'd blow out teams that they were supposed to, but when they played teams that were at that level or above. Well, I'm not trying to like be. I'm just saying like
Sorry,
Notre Dame was like that. No,
sorry.
Notre Dame was like that for Brian Kelly, so I know what that's like, right? Like, I think Marcus Freeman elevated Notre Dame to a different level than what Brian Kelly. Yeah, we were a 10-win team, but we were never a serious national title contender under Brian Kelly. We're a serious national title contender under Freeman. Like you guys are a serious national title contender going forward under Cignetti. I just think it's really hard when you're talking about a 2-year sample size because we did get the head-to-head. You guys did win the Natty. I'm interested to see what happens this season because I think both Notre Dame and Indiana can both win the national title this year. I think if Notre Dame wins a national title this year, I think it kind of ends the debate. If Indiana wins, easily ends the debate. But I think it's when we're having this conversation about who owns the state. If you're talking about the past 10 years, it's not close. If you're talking about the last 2 years, I think it's for Alec to say it's not close. I wouldn't say that.
Well, no,
I think there's an argument.
In the last 2 years, it's more of a conversation. If you want to put the starting point at Fernando Mendoza committing, then I think from that point on, what was it, Christmas Eve or something, 2025.
Years, both of these teams are arguably top 5 in the last 2 years.
But Indiana is inarguably one in terms of number of wins and most recent national title. And that's the point. It's like, I'm not trying to say Notre Dame is not a good team. It's just Indiana is literally number 1. And that's what most people still, I think, are, and it's not disrespectful to it, but it's like, it's Indiana as a football brand. People still haven't wrapped their brains around it, but this is what Alabama was. This is what people thought Kirby Smart's Georgia was. Like, they're that good of a program. Like, this isn't just fool's gold.
If that's
real quickly, and someone pointed out to me, NIU has actually dominated Indiana in recruiting. The state of Indiana, so NIU owns Indiana. They have more recruits.
They're not in this. Well, if you want to put,
but they own Indiana.
Over, NIU beat Notre Dame, who beat Indiana. So
they did. Yeah.
So I think
NIU does dominate.
NIU owns
Indiana
owns NIU owns Indiana. Same with Ball State. Most recruits, like.
Well, no.
Do you understand that's disingenuous, though? Do you understand that's disingenuous?
Yes.
Well, I'm saying
that's not even the conversation we're having.
But no, I understand that. But I'm also responding with that. You said I couldn't name kids that Notre Dame couldn't get, or Indiana guys got.
I said, when you off the top of your head, you're disrespecting the Indiana recruiting class without knowing a single kid that was in the class.
Like,
and then you went and Googled who was in the class.
Yeah, I Googled it.
Couldn't name a kid in the class.
I'm not trying to. 4 stars in the state of Indiana. That's all you have. That's why Notre Dame doesn't recruit there. That was my point, though. Like, do you understand why I'm saying that? Is that like Notre Dame shouldn't be?
I'm saying I'm acknowledging the fact that Notre Dame has the ability to recruit nationally, while also telling you that is a strong part of the argument as to why Indiana owns the state, because they actually get players from the state.
But when a kid gets an offer from Notre Dame or IU, where does that kid go?
It's Indiana is the national champion, and Notre Dame ran away from the Pop-Tart.
And IU ran away from the NIT. So what's your point? So like,
can't actually play in the NIT. But
you
ran away from
you got invited. You said no. So
IU actually play in the NIT, but it's okay.
We got invited.
Okay, the crown. Well, we not get invited.
What do you mean? No, I'm saying we got invited to the Pop-Tarts Bowl, and we said no.
Football.
Hey,
I thought you meant Notre Dame basketball.
Hey,
if I was a Notre Dame fan, it would be my favorite move of all time. But because I'm not a Notre Dame fan, it drives me nuts.
Micah Shrewsbury was such a great coach. Carson Towle had him for 1 year and said, "I'm quitting basketball." But no, my main point is like, when Notre Dame and IU, and we can go back to, and yeah, I'm an asshole for just interrupting. I'll admit that. I'm sorry. But my point was this, is that when Notre Dame and IU both go for the same Indiana kid, we've already seen where kids are going to Notre Dame above IU. We saw that. And if you want to say it's because Kirk Cignetti, that's fine. Then we'll see in the future. We don't know yet because there's hypotheticals. But we've seen in the past kids choose kids choose Notre Dame over IU.
I want to address this comment because I think it's the irony of this guy's name being low IQ exposer. when he's literally saying something that's very low IQ is hilarious because we just talked about this. The Notre Dame defense that gave up 30-plus points to Purdue, gave up 40-plus points to Texas A&M. That was a completely different defense. That was us implementing a zone defense that we had never ran before. And we still beat that Purdue team by 30 points, by the way.
I just want to point out IU gave up 14 points to Old Dominion, and we won by 13.
Yeah,
now,
I also we can do that. It's just dumbass comment.
But Alec, what were you going to say? You were going to say something before I interrupted you.
No, honestly, I don't even remember what I was going to say. So maybe something about Notre Dame's level of competition dropping sharply after the first 2 games, and maybe that has something to do with their defense getting significantly better. But I'm not a schedule guy. I already told you, I'm not a schedule guy. You play who you play, and you dominate them. Like that's what you do.
We played a rank
before the college football ranking show went live. I had Notre Dame in. So as much as I want to like make fun of like the fan base and like poke my fun and like use it as I thought they were so.
Yeah, no, I think it's an interesting debate. I think it's going to be interesting to see how this. I really hope we get a Notre Dame Indiana in the playoffs this year.
I hope you guys come to Bloomington.
Put this shit to bed. Because I've never been to Bloomington. What's your stadium capacity there?
60, maybe 56 or 60, 56 maybe. I think 56.
This would be an interesting question.
Do you think they're going to
that game? They have to. They should.
I think they are going to wait. I mean, season tickets sold out in like 3 hours, but I think they're going to wait until demand builds up, and then what they're going to do is make the stadium nicer first, and then they'll expand eventually. I don't think they can afford to not play games in Bloomington right now.
This is an interesting question. If Notre Dame were to play at Bloomington, what do we think the crowd split would look like? Because I remember in Notre Dame Stadium, it was probably about maybe 65-35, 60-40. There was also a lot of weird people that I was talking about earlier that were wearing those split down the middle Notre Dame, Indiana, like baseball jackets. And I'm like, take this shit, bro. You can't do that. Like that. No, he's like, well, I'm a IU basketball fan. I'm a Notre Dame football fan. I'm like, bro, like that's just disgusting. He's like, it's a win-win for me. I'm like, all right.
I heard 75-25 was like Notre Dame, Indiana was the split. And I thought that at least the way the Indiana fan base was talking was it was going to be a little bit more aggressively towards like 35-40%. Yeah. But I heard that it was a really strong. It's funny. My co-host over at Brad over at the Voice of College Football Indiana was like, he's like, I get it. He's like, I get the Notre Dame atmosphere because he went up to the tailgate and he went to the game. He's like, they're a football. He's like, I get it.
Dude, it was awesome. The tailgating scene there.
I think it'd be the same if you just reversed it. If it was in Bloomington, I think it's 75-25 Indiana fans.
Yeah,
sure.
I don't see us traveling well, especially Bloomington. Even though most of our fans were already there 2 years ago.
Most of our fans aren't even
Hey, do you guys have an airport? All the private jets could fly in.
Bloomington, Bloomington's got an airport.
How do you think John Mellencamp gets the games?
They ran. I don't know if you guys saw the 60 minutes that they ran on Indiana football, but they had like a 4 or 5 minute thing on Mellencamp and that he like smokes above the stadium, and I never seen that once. Not one time did I see that.
Well, so Fravel knows from when Indiana made the playoff run, or when Pacers made the playoff run last year. I'm a D1 John Mellencamp hater. He is a hypocrite. He's all about Indiana pride, Indiana this. The guy lives in fucking Illinois. Like, yeah, you're from here, but you left. Like, don't tell people from Indiana how to act when you haven't lived here for 25 plus years.
I am really Indiana, so I don't tell people in Indiana how to act.
But yeah, like, so Fravel knows I hate John Mellencamp. And I remember when that 60 minutes came out, they're talking about like John Mellencamp has a smoke shop. I'm like, so he has to smoke at games? That's the way you get him to go?
I'm not kidding. I don't think it like shut down campus senior year during COVID when it was like he might show up at one of the bars and like he was with Bruce Springsteen. Everybody was freaking out. That's the only time in the 4 years that I was at Bloomington that I ever heard of him being around.
Yeah. Well, I remember, like, I thought he was going to croak over in the middle of that performance a few months ago.
The national championship, they need to burn that video and never show it again.
My favorite part, and I'll be done with this after that. the IU fans who were like demonizing the Michigan State account for making fun of them not going to. They're like, you know how many people died of hypothermia last week? It's like, what are you talking about? This is Twitter.
Oh, dude, I want to bring that up because like I remember a clowning, and I think Alec commented on this, the Indiana championship celebration at the stadium. I was like, bro, like, and I get it. Like, I had people say, dude, it was cold. I'm like, bro, you live in Indiana. It's cold in the winter.
All the time.
Shocker. Like, bro. And I'm like, if Notre Dame won a national championship for the first time in 40 years, I don't give a shit if it's -40 out. I am going to that national championship celebration.
I lived in -60 degrees in Alaska, so I have all
the
the
thing that people. I was going to say the thing that people miss about the national championship celebration is not the fact that it was cold. It's the fact that there was an impending snowstorm and nobody could travel into Bloomington for the event.
Like, I get that. But I'm saying, like, the people that told me, bro, it's like 10 degrees. I'm like,
yeah, bundle up. Grab a jacket.
Well, no, that's why I found it funny when I saw the fans demonizing the Michigan State guy. I'm like, guys, it's Twitter.
He's funny.
This guy
he's sharp, that kid.
This is the end of the world.
Before we give our answers, I do want to bring up Mendoza. We've talked a lot about Notre Dame. Like, let's talk about Indiana. I do think he's not as a player, but as a leader, like the Tim Tebow of this generation a little bit. In terms of, he's very big into like leading.
I get the religious aspect of it, maybe
the religious aspect, the innocence.
Tim Tebow like trains.
Fernando's not as innocent as he lets on.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually funny, Alex.
Right.
I had one of my buddies.
How do you think
one of my buddies
he will
text me
translate to the NFL? I think the Raiders is a great landing spot. They got Tyler, Lindenbaum or whatever as a center. They have Genty. They're getting decent, receivers. I think that team in a few years could be good under Mendoza. Do you see him as a future Super Bowl winning quarterback, all pro? What do you see from Mendoza?
I think, well, first of all, he's like, you want to talk about the physical attributes. He's 6'4", 236, can make every throw on the football field. Like, he's not going to blow you away with, like, he's not going to throw it as hard as Josh Allen, but in terms of ball placement and ability to make throws on the run, going left, going right, jumping, standing in the pocket, making a read, like, he can do everything on a football field. But this kid's superpower and his generational ability is his preparation. Like, Kurt Cignetti doesn't just throw words around. Like, he likes to talk a lot, but when he says things, like, I like to listen because he doesn't, like, spew BS. And so, like, when he goes on Pat McAfee and he tells Pat that Fernando Mendoza is the best preparer that he's ever been around in his entire career in football, going back forever, that's something that I'm not taking lightly. Like, this is a guy who helped recruit Phillip Rivers and Russell Wilson to NC State. Like, he was the recruiting coordinator at Alabama, building those Saban teams. Like, he's been around a lot of high-level players and quarterbacks and athletes. And for him to come out and say that about this kid's preparation, that he's built like Josh Allen, it's like, yeah, when you combine those two things, like, he's got as good a shot as any quarterback going in. Like, to me, he is no brainer, can't miss, absolute number one. Like, the conversations about, like, comparing him to, like, a Drake May or a Caleb Williams even, or like a Trevor Lawrence, drove me nuts, because physically he can do everything they can do on a football field. While he's not going to do like the Caleb Williams backpedal 50 yards and like banana arm, like fling a football 40 yards, right? But like, in terms of like going out and having the ability to dissect defenses and win football games,
he's not flashy.
As sure a thing as you can possibly get. And if the Raiders are going to do the right thing and sit him behind a veteran quarterback and have Brady mentor him and have an offensive mind with him, like, I would be stunned if he doesn't win multiple.
Like, the thing about Mendoza, hold on, Sean, hold on. The thing about Mendoza is that he's, like you said, he's not the flashiest guy. Like, I'll be honest, like, he's not the flashiest Heisman winner you'd ever watched, right? Like, he's not doing the Caleb Williams, the Cam Wards, making 7 defenders miss in the backfield and then
losing the 2-lane and just standing barefoot in the backfield,
throwing a dot in the back of the end zone, right? Like, he's not going to be doing that stuff. But it's like, dude's just a gamer, right? Like, dude, he makes the winning play. Like you said, he prepares better than anybody else. I do worry, because I'm also a Broncos fan, as you can tell. I worry with him going to the Raiders, not just because the division itself is already The Broncos are a really young and upcoming team. Mahomes, when he comes back, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. The Chargers with Herbert and Harbaugh, they've kind of got that thing rolling. Once they get healthy, you're in a really tough division with three good quarterbacks, and you're playing with an organization that it's under new ownership now with Tom Brady, but they don't have the best history of putting quarterbacks in the best position to succeed. I agree with you. They probably should get a bridge quarterback, a veteran to kind of
much, which is really encouraging.
But I think that I just don't know if the Raiders will necessarily do that and stick to it, because you spent a number 1 overall pick. The fans are going to want to see him, right?
A lot of just like that.
They improved, but I just think he's gonna his rookie year. I think he's gonna struggle a decent amount. Not just mainly.
I just hope he doesn't play. Honestly,
yeah, like you're gonna get a lot of. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna be dead honest. I've said the Fravel. I think I've said the Fravel. I've said it to you before, haven't I? Right?
What?
I think the Raiders are a team that could possibly make a giant jump if Mendoza plays.
Yeah.
But they could also have the biggest risk if Mendoza plays. Because number one thing with this quarterback is that's the best thing Mendoza has. He has all the mechanics you need. He's a serviceable mechanical quarterback, but the mind is there. You don't want a TJ or Ryan Leaf your quarterback. You don't want to ruin his confidence.
Their whole offensive line in one offseason. The Raiders haven't fully done that. They did sign the best offensive lineman in free agency, but
I would say the Raiders got better.
They could improve it enough.
It got better, but they're still the same. Like outside of the center position, they're the same offensive line that made Ashton Genty look like a bust of a pick, because the dude had like 7 guys in the backfield on him.
He doesn't have the worst offensive coordinator in the sport.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the main reason Ashton Genty was terrible. For being real. My main point is that, like, I think the Raiders, because I really think it's because they're able to keep Crosby. I think they're going to keep Crosby. I think that was realistically the best move. Like, we talk about, the fucking Ravens screwed them. They ruined everything. But I think that was the best move for the Raiders, because if the mental game's there, the Raiders could be a playoff team this year if they get a wide receiver 1 in this draft.
It's hard to put that on.
Trey Crosby, get an offensive lineman.
But I was like, because Mendoza's superpower is his processing ability, and because he's going to think a lot, you need him to understand what he's looking at. And so it's like, not that I don't think he can do it. I absolutely think he's capable, especially I think he could be a day 1 starter. But I think Sean was saying, Mahomes sat for a year, Hurts sat for a while. There is good data behind the fact that you have a really talented player who comes in and learns how to play quarterback. I think that's unbelievably valuable. And so I think that's what the Raiders are trying to do. And that's what I hope they do, because I think once this kid understands what he's looking at, it's over.
I'm just saying more as the roster. If Mendoza does what Mendoza we believe he will do, I believe Mendoza will be a top 5 quarterback at some point in the NFL. I've said
I was going to say.
No, not next year. That would be fucking insane. But I've called him the next Phillip Rivers, because he has everything mechanically. It's the brain of Phillip Rivers that makes him an elite quarterback. I've called him the next Phillip Rivers. If he's able to do that next year, I think the Raiders realistically could make the playoffs if they just commit from day 1 and they show up from day 1. At the end of the day, it's got to be training camp. It's got to be what decides this.
I think it's tough though, Ben, because of the division.
I don't think the division's that good.
You got the number 1 seed. You got the Chiefs.
6-11 Broncos.
Okay,
got hit like
what sucks about
but I will say, Phillip Rivers didn't win playoff games.
He was so good, but when he was playing, not one person, because of how spoiled we were with quarterbacks during this time, not one person was like, Phillip Rivers is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Everyone's like Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, right? He's a Hall of Famer, but it just sucked because
Phillip Rivers and the Chargers did that a lot to themselves, because Phillip Rivers was known for when the lights got brightest in the playoffs, he crapped down his leg and threw a pick. And
well, I think it's funny that you guys bring up Rivers specifically, because that's a guy that Curt Cignetti has coached and had been around in a quarterback developing capacity. And that's somebody who, when he says this is the number 1 preparer I've ever been around, Phillip Rivers is somebody who he's been around. And Fernando Mendoza's prep is even more legendary than that. And so I'm not sitting here and saying like I'm guaranteeing he's going to win multiple Super Bowls. But if you put a gun to my head and ask me if I thought he was going to win 1 or 4, I'd probably say 4.
Do you think? Because like I was going to bring this up because in the division, like you saw Herbert start right away, kind of thrive. Bo Nix started right away, turned a team that had the 32nd ranked roster to a playoff run. Do you think that?
I don't know if Bo Nix.
Yeah, Bo Nix Truther, yes.
This is forever right now. Forever right now on Bo Nix.
Ben hates Bo Nix.
I don't hate Bo Nix. I just noticed when Bo Nix doesn't do well, everyone else is fault.
But Nix and Herbert, those two guys, I think was Herbert a 4-year starter? I know Nix was. And
Herbert was a 3-year, wasn't he? He was a freshman.
So many starts under their belt. Like Fernando had a bunch too, but he didn't start fully his redshirt freshman year. I think he started halfway through the year. So he's got like 2.5 years of starting experience. And so I'd say like those guys have a little bit more under their belt. That's the biggest like Ty Simpson and like anti-Ty Simpson argument is like you can love the kid mechanically all you want. He played 15 football games. You saw him all this year.
2.0.
I don't get the. I don't
15 games and then let's go. He's gonna be a top 5 pick.
I said that. I said this in one of the spaces. I said Dante Moore not going into this draft made this draft insufferable for comparing QBs because you have to compare Ty Simpson to Fernando Mendoza. Because they're like Ty Simpson's the next QB. But there's too many people. There's too many people that are trying to justify Ty Simpson being better than Fernando Mendoza.
Ty Simpson is close for Alec related to Notre Dame, Indiana. So we talked about in the past. We've talked about, and then we can, I guess, we've been on here 2 hours, make our decisions. Yeah. But
I wonder if it'll be a little.
We've talked in the past, and this is my opinion on it. Let's get yours. Better prospect in the draft, Love or Mendoza? It's Mendoza. Better player, you can definitely argue Mendoza, obviously. I would say as a athlete / just as a natural football player, I would say Jeremiah Love as like an athlete, but everything else as a prospect, as a player, I would pick Mendoza. Would you agree on those aspects, the Mendoza and then freak of nature, athlete-wise Love, or what would you say on that?
I love Jeremiah Love. I think that dude is like we generational, like I said, gets thrown around a lot, but that dude is as good as they come in terms of the running back position. Like I mean, listen, I think Jadarian Price is good too, and I'm sure the audience is going to love this one. But I think if you just replaced him, if you put Price in there instead of Love, I don't think Notre Dame wins that playoff game. Like I think he was a major reason why Indiana had a lot of trouble. I think he was just that special. That being, and if you're going to look at like you said, pure athlete, if you're looking at the physical specimen who's going to run, cut, jump with a football in their hands, it's going to be Jeremiah Love. Now, if you're going to ask both of them to play quarterback, then it's it's kind of so it's like I'm taking Fernando Mendoza if we're playing quarterback, but if we're saying like who's the best athlete.
Well, if you ask some Notre Dame fans,
like that dude is an absolute freak, and people keep like I saw him getting comp to Jahmyr Gibbs, and like really impressive comp, but it's like that so different in terms of running style, like the power and speed Love blends together, his ability to run through people, jump over people, run past them, like it's he is a complete running back, and he was doing it at Notre Dame. He wasn't doing it, not to like put down Ashton Genty at all, but it's like. He wasn't doing it at Boise State. He was doing it at Notre Dame. And he was doing it to Penn State, to Georgia, to Indiana. That Indiana team was unbelievably good against the run. Unbelievably good against the run. And he made them look like ice cream.
I remember this time last year, I made a post on Twitter, and it blew up, and I had Boise State fans, I didn't realize that they have motion on Twitter, dude. They were pissed.
That's all they have in Idaho.
I said Jeremiah Love is a better prospect than Ashton Genty. And I said that last year. Oh my God, the amount of hate. Even Ben at the time gave me crap for it. And
okay,
it's like,
wait. No, we're not going to say I give you crap for the take. I gave you crap for the next take. You said Jeremiah Love would be taken higher than Ashton Genty.
And I said
the odds, well, we don't know yet, and it could not happen. Once again, I said the odds of that happening aren't very high.
His 40 time was 4.36. Do you think his draft slot is higher or lower than that? Essentially, do you think he's getting picked in the top 4?
I think it's Titans or it's Commanders.
I think there's teams out there that realistically and I was telling Fravel and Sean this last week, how much you're gonna have to pay Jeremiah Love before he even takes a snap on the field. He'd be a top 7 paid running back if you take him in the top 5. And I don't know if teams are committed to doing that. The Giants are the one team I think that would, just because the Giants they did was say, well, I pray to God that they fix the stadium. But also I'm a Colts fan, and I've already said it. I'd rather jump off a bridge than watch Jeremiah Love play in a Titans uniform. So
Commanders is a perfect landing spot. New stadium.
It is, but that makes me right, because then he's behind Ashton Jeanty.
I just saw this too. There was some stuff, I can't remember who the mock was by, but ESPN posted it. I have it on Instagram. They posted an updated mock today, and they said they heard that the Commanders are very interested in Jeremiah Love, so that's very possible where they trade up to 3. So in the mock, they traded with the Arizona Cardinals.
Why can't my Cardinals just pick Jeremiah Love? You got 50-year-old James Conner, who just blew his Achilles. Trey Benson has been hurt every year, and he signed Tyler Algier.
I'm not gonna lie. If I'm the Cardinals, I just say fuck it. Just take the best guy available. So yeah, I take Jeremiah Love. But if I were every other team,
you have Trey McBride, Jeremiah Love, Marv, and Michael Wilson, and next year you get a quarterback. That's a filthy offense. Like, what? If
I'm the Jets, I trade Breece Hall and take Jeremiah Love.
They just suspended him. They won't do that.
I know they won't do it, but that's what they should have done, if you ask me.
If you think it's a good move, the Jets are probably going to do the opposite. So they probably just re-extended Breece.
Hey, we'll get a.
Hey, get ready for Ty Simpson, 2nd overall pick, buddy.
I know.
We'll get a.
Oh, like David Bailey or something.
Dude,
they're gonna draft Arvell Reese, who can't turn a corner.
Okay, let me ask this question.
Show me a bend. Show me him doing a bend.
Is this the worst quarterback class?
Radio guy?
Is this the worst quarterback class since the Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis
come
class?
on.
No, because Mendoza.
It is funny because I told you guys I'm from New Jersey. I'm from Ocean Township, New Jersey. The quarterback in my class was Kenny Pickett.
Oh. Is it like we call
that's
him
my
baby
guy.
hands a lot, but yeah, like what
Super Bowl champion.
Dude, I remember people trying to kind of like what they're doing with Ty Simpson, right? Because it's such a big drop off. I remember in that class, I think it was the Matt Corral class, the Malik Willis, and it was like, bro, Matt Corral, 1st round pick, Malik Willis, first round pick, and it's like,
Bo Nix was similar.
I'm not going to lie, to be dead honest with you. This could be a class where I look back on and be like, oh my God, these GMs, like, how do you have a job? Because you're going to have the ability to have Ty Simpson be taken in the 1st round. I have made statements before that Ty Simpson's not even a day 2 guy.
He's not.
I would take him day 2.
It's just when he put him against Mendoza, it's like, it's not the conversation.
There will be a guy in the later rounds in this draft. I don't know who. It could be why do I want to say Zach Mettenberger? Oh my God, LSU.
Wait, hold on.
Nussmeier. It could be Nussmeier. There's going to be somebody that is decent, I think.
I think Green will be a guy who we could see maybe jump.
Taylon Green, yes. Yeah. I think Taylon Green is a sneaky. He's got all the athletics.
I see it. I see it as, okay, who's the Indianapolis Colts? Who's gonna do something? Who's gonna fucking just watch the combine and say, let's put a whole fucking
Mike Washington.
I think
even though I want us to take him in the 3rd round, I'll take to Michael Green in the 3rd round.
I think Dante Moore. I'll be honest. I think Dante Moore. After I was watching, I watched the Oregon Indiana game live. As I'm watching it, I'm like, this kid just needs to come back. He's not ready. I'm thinking of it from just watching.
Smart by him and chasing money.
But then, you think about it, it's like he probably would be easily the 2nd quarterback off the board in this draft class. So financially, it would have made a lot more sense. Developmentally wise, he's not there. But this next class, you have CJ Carr, who's projected 1st round. Sayin could be a 1st round quarterback. You got Arch Manning, who the back half of last year looked really, really good.
We thought Mensa would be 1st round.
Mensa, it's you could get really lost in the shuffle if you're Dante Moore. and you have like so you just do the same thing you did last year and you struggle again in the playoffs, it could really cost Dante more.
You say that. I think Oregon is one of the most talented teams in national title threats this year. So let's not act like, oh, he's just going to choke. I mean, we don't know how they are going to rebound.
Well, now, I also like if you're guaranteed to go number 2 overall, like guaranteed, here's $42 million. Are you saying no to that, or is it more of like we think you're number 2, but we're looking into the film and then it's like, wait a second, if I come out and I'm all of a sudden the film says I'm a 2nd round pick in this draft, my career looks a lot different. I don't know. It's speculation. Well, I don't think we got far enough into the Dante Moore like eval.
I'm not gonna lie. Looking at Dante, like look at his stats as himself. I understand it's a little bit insane to say because he did so well this year and like he's got to be a guy who's considered a top pick. There's a little bit of Juraller in there. There is. Let's be real. The way he should.
The scout on him is that he has trouble seeing the hook defender and the underneath defender. Like there's a guy, I don't know if you guys know Buffton Prime on Twitter, but T-Cow's my guy, and he put out a full like Dante Moore scout that was like down to a T that like out on Twitter that like we were reading and be like, yeah, that's exactly how the game went. Like there are things for him to clean up for sure.
Like I look at it this way, like I agree with the Juraller thing because the stats look great. The regular season stats, like you're just stat watching.
But like if you look at him against really good opponents and really good defenses, there's problems.
He plays very
so
bad.
I think he noticed that. I think his agent told him like they're gonna see that in film. You're not guaranteed to go number 2. I would go to a pretty good quarterback coach, go to a pretty good quarterback school overall, and work with them to get better. So then you're able to say, I made these corrections during these interviews. Because guess what? Guess what the first thing they're going to show when you walk in your interview, they wanted the combine. They're going to show you in Atlanta, D'Angelo Pons picking you off the first play of the game. And they're going to say, how do you believe that? And since then, have you gotten better? And he's not going to be able to show any proof. He's just going to be like, I believe I've gotten better. And that's going to hurt him. So I think that's
like but then you have a situation like, again, with Juraller. There were people like after the Orange Bowl where he cost Penn State that game. Realistically, he got saved from 3 interceptions, 2 of them called back by phantom PIs. But anyway, there were people at the time that were like, even after that game, he's got the intangibles. He's got like he still would be like the 3rd quarterback off the board in this class. And it's like he should have went because then look what happened this year. He goes back. Penn State has all these national championship aspirations, kind of like Oregon does. You return a lot. You go and get stuff in the portal, and then he has a severe injury halfway through the season. Season goes to shit, and now he's what? Maybe lucky to be drafted.
He'll be drafted.
So,
but yeah, he's not in the conversation for top 2 quarterbacks.
He's not if he gets drafted
before the playoff last year, he was being talked about as the number 1 pick potentially in last year's draft.
Realistically, last year's whole entire draft was fucking insane. Like the people that we were saying were going to be really big picks this year, Nussmeier shit the bed, Klubnik shit the bed.
Arch was supposed to be a 1st round pick this year.
Well, we'll give Arch the benefit of the doubt because it was his first year. All of these other guys had real experience. Sellers supposed to be a top pick. Klubnik, Sellers. The only one that turned out, and I'll give the CBS article guy who wrote it, Fernando Mendoza being the 1st overall pick.
Nobody
did it because it was
Mendoza as a 1st round pick.
The guy who had him as a 1st overall pick, legit in the word said this probably won't happen. But if he's like a top 5 pick and the Colts are there, why not do it?
Which is crazy.
And now you're like,
Alec, I'm sure you were the same way. Heading into last year, wasn't high on Juraller, wasn't high on Cade Klubnik, wasn't high on Nussmeier. Watched a lot of those guys play football, a lot of games. Didn't see it. Just didn't see the hype. Mendoza, even that game at Cal, when Cal played
Stanford,
Miami, Stanford, even like the Florida State game in which they lost. Like you could just tell how much he was carrying that team, obviously along with Jaden Ott. But like that Cal team probably
dragged them. He got sacked 41 times.
Bro, they might win 2 games if they didn't have Mendoza. right?
It's like 41 times. That's why like Brad and I on the Indiana channel were like literally like losing our minds. Like my first time my buddy saw him throw in an Indiana setting, like he's like, this guy's Andrew Luck. Like we were like, this guy's the Heisman. He's gonna run away with the Heisman. Like if he does anything, stays healthy and just like does what Curtis Rourke does, but can move left or right, like he's gonna win the Heisman. Like we were convinced. Not only that, like absolutely, like you couldn't tell us anything different. It was like we ranked all the Big Ten quarterbacks going into the season in July, and we had Mendoza number 1. Like it was no doubt in our mind what he was going to be. And to your point, like watching him play against Miami and being outgunned in that game and being an absolute gamer, that drive against Stanford, 98 yards with my boys, where he takes them all the way down the field and he gives like that ridiculous interview after. It's like, all that stuff, like it translated. It all translated.
Yeah. No, and so one final thing, and then we can end this and kind of get to the end.
Let's say we've been on for 2 hours, boys.
Yeah, we have. Final draft thing when it comes to Notre Dame and Indiana. Notre Dame has the opportunity this year to be, I don't know how many times it's been done. I would imagine not very likely. I don't know if ever. I'd have to look it up. But Notre Dame could do something that doesn't happen very often, which is put 2 running backs in the first round, especially after the combine performance. The running back class this year, it's not crazy good. We thought, Katron Allen, Singleton fell off. But Alec, what do you think about Price as the clear RB2 in this class and him being somewhere in the back end of the first round? Because that's a lot of people have him go to Seattle now.
Yeah, I think he'll be
K9. Like I think
a strong argument for it for sure.
Yeah. There were times last year, I remember we were doing Notre Dame spaces, doing post game, during games where Price, they were like, was Price looked at as a better back than Love at times last year? Because not as much, obviously, from an athletic standpoint, but like when we struggled early in the goal line in the season, when we had Love in there, Love would try to bounce it too much, right? Try to get to the outside, make a guy miss. Price is just hand the ball off. I'm just going to run over a dude. I'm going to get in the end zone. Like, I'm not going to do all the crazy hurdling over people, stiff arming people. I'm just going to do my job, be a 3-down running back, be a hammer, and I'm going to be effective doing it. I think it's interesting because I didn't look at Price that way until this season, right? You see him get 700 plus yards, being RB2. Where do we think this ends? Do we think he's a first rounder? Do we think he's?
Well, it's funny with Price. Like I know I said before that I thought he was the starter for that Notre Dame game, and Love didn't exist. Like Indiana would win, but to be honest, like, he was absolutely terrifying too. His ability as a pass catcher out of the backfield, like just to be a well-rounded running back. It's so funny. Like it's so hard to figure out who these NFL teams are falling in love with, because if you're going to look at like a pure dynasty fantasy football perspective, I'd probably lean Claiborne as the running back too. That being said, like that's not conducive to like going and winning football games. I don't know if somebody's going to spend a back end of the first round pick on a running back that they're not like blown away by athletically, unless he just killed all the interviews, which like could be very possible. But I do think he's got a stronger argument to be RB2 in that class. And I think obviously it would have helped him a lot more if he was like, he's one of those guys that gets hurt by doing it the right way and staying at the place that recruited him, because like while he was able to stay fresh, he didn't get RB1 work. And then on top of that, he didn't get to play on the stage that was basically promised. It's like, here, we're Notre Dame and we're going to play in the college football playoff. So it's like, okay, maybe you don't have the hard stats on paper, but you'll see the way he produced against elite teams, and guys will see that on film. So it's like, I think he's probably a guy who got a little bit screwed over by being loyal, which is a weird way to put it. But in that sense, when you are that guy at Notre Dame, it carries weight. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up in the back end of the first round.
I don't know if he'll fall that much on the aspect of that, because let's say he was at Tennessee. He's probably a second round pick anyway. So I think it hurts him, because, that hurts his draft stock. But like you said, it probably also helps him character-wise. A team might be like, we want a guy like you. So it's
100%, because they trust, like, as much as like I'll be the first one to attack the Notre Dame brand, because it helps me, quote unquote, in my own head, like recruiting-wise for Indiana, if we're just chipping away, right? But like the brand carries weight, and when you are a 4-year player or 3-year player in the Notre Dame program and you're around those coaches and you're seeing different guys go to the league and you have those connections and people understand the character and the work ethic and also the play on the field, like you don't have to be a lead back when you have that type of credibility built into the place you're living every day.
Do you hate Notre Dame?
No, I don't hate Notre Dame at all. It's funny. Like I said, like I'm not from the state of Indiana, but I do like the back and forth. Like I grew up, like I said, in New Jersey, but I'm a diehard Red Sox fan. So I grew up having Red Sox Yankees arguments. And so it's like, you guys can see it's been 2 hours and 14 minutes. Like I'll talk all night.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, the only opinion here on who owns a state, whose matters here is this guy.
So the Cincinnati fan.
I live in Indiana, Bucko. Calm it down, okay?
All right, I think we should go over our final picks of who owns a state.
Yeah. We'll let Ben go first, and then we'll let Alec go first, and then Sean, and I'll go.
I think realistically, if you're gonna look at who owns a state, yes, there's certain things you're recruiting inside the state. That's big. But when at the end of the day, when you look at a whole program, who is your IU comes knocking at your door, Purdue, Notre Dame, Ball State. We keep saying Ball State. It's fucking hilarious. But I want to add a fourth team in there. Indiana
Don't forget
State. There you go.
Hey, don't forget the Sycamores. Yeah.
Those come knocking at your door. Every team hits you as hard as they possibly can to get you to come there. 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10 times they're choosing Notre Dame. And you can't just say, and my biggest problem with it is, yes, did Indiana have the best team in the state last year? 100%, without a doubt. But when it comes to owning a state as a program, you have to look at from point A, from point B. And I think if we're saying 2 years, then we want to say 2 years, that's fine. But when I think of owning the state, I'm thinking of 10-year wise. How long has each state been as good as how long has each team been as good as they are? Indiana, if they keep it up, if they keep competing like this, I could 100% say they own the state as a program in 8 years, or not even 8 years, like in 3 years, they keep it up the way they're doing it. Not even winning natties, but making the playoffs, being a competitive team. But you have to have those games before Signetti count towards the program. And also, what did we hear all year? The games have to matter. The games have to matter. They don't anything that matter. The games have to matter.
In the same season.
Yeah, and both teams played 16 games this year. Or actually, that's not true. One team played 16 games this year and won all 16, and the other one lost to 2 football. It's like you said, if we're talking about historic rankings of programs, and you want to look at, you go back to the 1900s and all that, like, yeah, not a conversation. But in terms of who owns the state of Indiana in 2026, it's the Indiana Hoosiers. You're talking about Sachem Awards. You're talking about Indy 500 pace car. You're talking about #1 overall draft pick. You're talking about 15 recruits in the state since Signetti showed up versus 5. Like, there's a concerted effort to make a presence in the state of Indiana, and it's shown up in a big way. And so your national champions own the state of Indiana.
I love that question, by the way, with the Indy 500. That was funny. I want to thank Alec for coming on the show. It was fun talking to you and debating. It kind of concerns me a little bit how much Alec was like, I agree with you, Sean. So I'm like,
Sean's an Indiana fan now.
I know.
Come on over.
I'm diehard.
We'll be the first one.
Me and Ryan mess with Ben a lot. I'm a diehard Notre Dame fan. We talked to Ben because a lot of his memories of Notre Dame is kind of recent, while me and Ryan are a little older and we have like older memories of Notre Dame. And
we've hit Unk status.
Unk status officially.
Welcome.
So I will say this. I think that as a program, I agree with the historic aspect of Alec. I think as a program, when you compare not even state argument, but as a program from recruiting, finances, on the field play, just everything, I would still say Notre Dame. I think of owning the state of Indiana this year, especially because Alec talked me into his recruiting argument a little bit. Indiana owns the state this year. I just think there's no way, if they own the whole aspect of state of college football, why wouldn't they own the state of Indiana if they own all of college football right now? So, Indiana is running college football right now. Indiana is running the state of Indiana right now. That's not me saying that I think that they are the better program. I still say Notre Dame, but right now, yeah, they have the national championship. They have the thing that I've been wanting for all my life. The one thing I want as a Notre Dame fan, a national championship. So, yes, Notre Dame's a better program. Yes, Indiana is running the state right
now. So here's my thing. We're kind of split down the middle here. I agree with Ben, which is a shocker because we never really see eye to eye on things. So I think, again, like Ben said, the games have to matter. Head to head is the end all be all when it comes to arguments.
I'm not gonna lie. If you told me 4 months ago Ryan Frable would be saying this, I would call you a liar.
As everyone in this chat was like, by the way, Miami and over Notre Dame.
By the way, I argued against Miami for the longest time because I'm like, they lost to SMU, they lost to Louisville. We didn't lose to unranked teams. But
they
anyway,
didn't lose at all.
Head to head,
okay, keep going.
Head to head has to matter. If you pull up, and I get it, you want to use I think if you use the last 2 years, there's a debate. Anything beyond that, not even close. When you see things on Winsipedia and Purdue has 77 wins to Indiana's 44.
Kurt Cignetti is 27-2 with a national championship.
And then Notre Dame is
who's the one?
Or no, 20. Notre Dame is 24-5 with one tie against Indiana all time. Indiana has not beaten Notre Dame in 40 years. And we just saw a game get played in the Cignetti era in which it was not close. I give the slight edge to Notre Dame as a program, like we've talked about, and Alex is in agreement. Program, historically, not a debate. In terms of who owns the state, Notre Dame owns the state right this second until proven until
this season. You're saying right now, this year, Notre Dame owns the state this year.
Yes, 2026.
Yes.
Because the 2026 roster is set, not the 2025 roster.
We're playing.
Who's lined up week one? 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 Green Bay. Who's lined up?
I mean, I can fully agree with Alec. Right? He says Indiana's a better program. I mean, I think Notre Dame's the better program. I don't think program-wise it's close, but I do think Indiana. I think it's too biased to say that Indiana doesn't run the state right now. To
be honest with you, hold on. I'll openly say if IU next year comes out has a better year than Notre Dame, like 100%, like without a doubt has a better year. I'll be like, yeah, Indiana runs the state right now because we fucking have.
They just won the national championship.
Hold on a second.
It's the best season.
It's the repeating factor. It's the you keep doing it factor.
You haven't done it once.
They did 2 years in a row.
Who owns the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry? Who owns it?
Ohio State just won
it. The rivalry. We're all asking who
Michigan. Michigan owns the rivalry.
Who owns Michigan owns rivalry.
Ohio State just won the game. Like, but that's my point, though. You have to consistently do it. For me to say that you're the better program, that the program owns.
Ohio State didn't win. Hold on, but Ohio State didn't win the Michigan game this year, and then be like, we actually have to get 4 back in the Ryan Day era, so this one doesn't count. Like they're like, no, it's ours again.
Every Ohio State fan says the fact that they lost to Michigan at any point's terrible. They compared it to.
No, I'm aware, but I'm not. I'm telling you that they're not like we need to get 4 back before we celebrate this one Michigan win. They're like, no, we just beat them.
But but that's my main point though, is that you have to completely keep redoing it. That's why we said Michigan dominated the rivalry during the Ryan Day stuff. In Michigan, we weren't saying Michigan dominates the rivalry.
Indiana Notre Dame 2025, like Indiana was the better team. So if you're going to just run that forward, we don't know.
Cincinnati. If Ohio State went 40 years without winning a national championship, and Cincinnati won the national championship this year, who would own the state this year?
Ohio State.
Ohio, what's this hypothetical? That's not even comparable.
We're comparing a G5
but that's not. Okay, motherfucker, shut the fuck up for one. This is where he says stupid shit. But no, that's not comparable because that's not even. This is a rivalry that's been going on for years. Michigan did not dominate the Ohio State rivalry after years of being absolutely dog shit against them because they beat them once. They dominated because but the first year is what I'm saying. They didn't dominate it after the first year period. They dominated after winning it 4 straight years in a row.
I'm not telling you.
But that's why I'm saying that. That's why I'm saying if IU next year does better without a doubt than Notre Dame, then I will 100% say it.
But they did better without a doubt this year.
They had the better team this year, yes. But the program is built off of multiple seasons. Not
he's saying
season.
This year, if they had the better program this year.
I told you this year they had the better team. Yes.
Does that mean they owed the state this year?
They had the better team this year. Does that mean they own the state?
This year,
because a program is made up of multiple years of a team. It's not made up of 1 year.
Okay, hold on. Here we go. This is my favorite thing. And we're gonna end it on this because this is my favorite comeback to Indiana fans. Right? That do the whole. We won a national championship. Congratulations! You are on the same level now as Rutgers as a program. You have now officially tied Rutgers with the same amount of national titles as Rutgers has.
We count BCS era games with national championships. Indiana 1, Notre Dame 0.
Hey. I know we had this argument
last year. What were we talking
1988 national championship. It wasn't considered a championship game, but the winner was declared the national champion. So technically, we won a national championship game.
Technically, we should be
because it was number 1 versus number 2 West Virginia. We beat them, national champs. Just because it didn't have the BCS name. Well,
okay, you say claimed. We have over 12 unclaimed.
We have like 27. Unclaimed. We have 27 that we could claim, and we don't.
We don't.
Yeah, they all work this. It's like the Yankees talking about their 27 championships, and it's like cool. Like the ones in the 50s, like that's great. Maybe that's better in the 90s.
No, it's like IU basketball talking about their 2 national championships, the ones in the 80s. But that's my point. You play the games.
Last undefeated team, though.
Cool.
Well,
look at how well that's doing Indiana basketball now.
1989. But that's my point, though. Is like these games get played.
It doesn't matter. The history doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. Because if history mattered, Indiana basketball would be dominating every year.
No, Alec.
How does because I don't know.
It does because it's the history.
I can't argue with someone that's just going to sit here and say that nothing before my team was good matters. Like that's what that sounds like, Alec. Yeah, I know you don't mean it that way.
No. Again, you haven't listened to a single thing I've said because I'm telling you, before Curt Cignetti showed up, Notre Dame, not even close, no argument, dominated the state. Since Curt Cignetti showed up, Indiana has an argument, and in 2026, there is no Notre Dame argument.
This is what Alec is saying, Ben.
I understand what he's saying. I understand. No, you don't have to repeat. I understand what you're saying. Yes, you're trying to only say after. That's what you're trying to look at. I fully understand that. What I'm saying is that I don't believe that should be what we decide that who owns the state as a program. And like I said, you guys own the state as a team this past year. I will 100% admit that. There's no problem there. You were the best team in the country. You're on the whole fucking country. You're the best team in the country. But I'm saying as a program, who owns the state? You have to look at more than just 2 years. You can't just look at, when did my coach arrive? Because then we could say that we own Georgia because Marcus Freeman arrived and we beat Georgia one time with Marcus
Your school's
Freeman.
not in Georgia.
But what I'm saying is they are taking ownership of a school. You're saying that one school is better than another.
I'm not saying they own Notre Dame. I'm saying they own the state of Indiana.
Well, if you're saying they own the state, you're saying they're better than
before Cignetti.
They are a better program.
As a
it's crazy.
It's not even.
Oh my god,
dude! What are we talking about? I know I'm
going
being serious.
in a loop.
Like, you're a Notre Dame fan, but I'm being serious. Like one team won the national title, was the best team in the country.
Is Notre Dame a better program than Georgia?
No.
All time, no.
Yep.
All time, yes.
All time, yes. Recently, no.
No, I'm saying since we got Marcus Freeman. We're automatically better.
Yeah, we're better. We're better than Georgia.
That's not the same.
Georgia has 2 national championships. What are you talking about?
Oh, look at that!
Well,
in the BCS era, like, what are we talking about? Notre Dame doesn't have a national championship. They have not won a.
You're not. you keep skipping over the fact that you keep cutting it off as when did Kirk Signay show up? You can't just say a program was good for 2 years. That means they own another program.
Like
Alex,
we can say that
we own the program.
Ryan, hold
That's
on,
what you're
hold on,
missing.
hold on.
You
Hold
own
on.
the program and the state.
Ben, hold on.
No, we own the state. We own the state. We absolutely
Alex,
do.
before
Where's the
Signetti,
program
you say
located?
Notre Dame. After
100%.
Signetti, you say Indiana. Now
But
let me
where's the
ask,
program located?
combine it all.
Yeah,
Where's
if you're
the
going to
program
talk about,
located?
but that's my point, is like there is no argument if you're going to talk about the histories of both programs, because you start going back far enough, Indiana is the losingest program in the history of the sport, and Notre Dame has 20-something unclaimed titles.
I'm not even trying to say go back all the way to the beginning. I'm just saying that you can't just make the cutoff point when Kirk Signay showed up. And I'm not disagreeing with you.
But I'm telling you, I can, because that
is
is a distinct point in time where the football program at Indiana decided to be a top.
But that doesn't mean the history before does not matter.
In terms of owning the state in 2026, yes, it does.
Yes. Oh, it's just we're going in a circle because I'm just trying to say that you can't just say Kirk Signay shows up, nothing matters before that.
The history of Notre Dame outweighs the modern success of Indiana.
I'm saying the past 10 years as a program.
It does not outweigh the fact that Indiana just won a national championship and went 16-0. It doesn't.
I'm not saying that makes Notre Dame a better team this year. I'm not saying it makes a better program this year. I'm saying program overall that owns the state. You're saying that IU owns Notre Dame as a program because you're saying they own the state.
No, I'm not. You keep putting those words in my mouth.
But that's what where's Notre Dame located, Alec?
Indiana owns the state of Indiana.
Where's Notre Dame located? I'm going to dumb it down the most I can because I think I'm not
in Notre Dame, Indiana.
Okay, and you're saying Indiana owns the state.
If you want me to say like, yeah, they own the ground that Notre Dame walks, like, what's your?
No, you're
what's
saying
your
they own the state they play in. You're saying they own the state they're playing in.
They do. They recruit there more.
But that means you're saying that they're better than them and they own that program. The same way IU owns Purdue. The same way IU owns Ball State. That's
okay. Here we go. Alec, would it be safe to say that Notre Dame owns Indiana and football?
All time, like in terms of
like, no, just program v program. Notre Dame head to head versus
Kurt
Indiana.
Signetti showed up. No. Before that, not even close. Yes,
we beat you. What do you mean?
And it's been 2 years, and you don't have a national championship.
Since Kurt Signetti shows up, they don't own us head to head. We beat you head to head. Whatever.
Your biggest win, you're telling me that the biggest win in Notre Dame program history the last 2 years is beating Indiana, and I'm telling you, it's as far as winning a national championship.
No one said that. He said
Georgia
head to head, including head to head. Does Notre Dame own IU since Kirk Signetti showed up? You said
the answer is no.
You said we beat you head to head.
Congratulations! That was in 2024.
Like Alec,
2 years.
Alec, like you guys are right now, you guys. Alec, you guys right now are a better program than Purdue, right?
No, Ben,
not even a question.
This is actually this is crazy. This is actually
it's crazy. He just said that
2024. You're talking about a game in 2024. It's 2026. A full football season has been played since then.
Alec, he said, "Does Notre Dame own IU head to head?" And you said,
"No, that's not what he said." That's not what he said.
Own That's why he said
he did not say head to head.
Oh my God! Yes, he did. We could run back and play it.
He said, "Do they own one game, dude? It's 1-0 Notre Dame."
That's the only reason why this is a conversation. Because Kirk Signetti didn't win a natty yet. That's the dumbest thing I've ever fucking heard. I'm sorry, I don't want to be disrespectful, but
why are people upset when they have the national championship and we don't?
Yeah, why?
It doesn't matter. You have the natty. It doesn't matter. But like, what I'm saying,
the national championship doesn't matter.
That's okay. No, I'm saying it doesn't matter for us. You have the national championship. It doesn't matter. Like, you guys don't have to compare.
It doesn't matter at all.
No, I'm not. That's not. No. No, shut the fuck up. That's not what I fucking said. No,
it is what you said.
I said it doesn't matter because you have the national championship. What we say does not matter because you own the national championship. That's what I said. Do not put fucking words in my mouth.
Hey,
all right.
Well, no, he's gonna fucking sit here and be like, "Oh, it doesn't fucking matter." Act like
let's calm it down a little bit. We're getting too heated.
We're getting heated. I'm getting heated.
Very entertaining.
Opinion, in fact, one team was the number one team.
Yeah, one team won a game against the other team, and yeah, that means they have them
in 2024. That's what you're talking about. 2 years ago.
Did the game play? Did they play the game?
In 2024, dude. You're talking about something that happened 2 years ago.
NIU owns us in the past 2 years.
Like, okay, here, Alec, for instance, I get in this argument.
I appreciate the time, guys. Like, I can't keep yelling at the same time.
I agree, Alec.
This is crazy.
Well, no,
I'm bashing my head against the ceiling. Like, this is insane.
Hold on.
I'm just confused how we don't own in the head-to-head. That's what he
Like,
said.
here's
you said
my
no
thing.
because Kirk Signetti in the past 2 years. It's
No, dude, no.
Here's my
See,
thing.
you're
Here's my
being
thing.
upset that I'm putting words in your mouth and you're putting words in my mouth.
No,
Ben,
I'm
Ben,
repeating
Ben,
what Frabel said. Frabel's exactly
factually owns the head-to-head. I can't argue that.
Alec,
what do we even talk
repeat
about?
what you said. Repeat what you said. That.
Okay, what I asked was take away. Like, I'm just asking head-to-head program on the field results.
Head-to-head program or on the field result. Like, what's the question?
Is it Notre Dame head-to-head? Does Notre Dame own Indiana in football?
There's been one football game played between the two schools, and Notre Dame won it.
They've played 30 games total, and Notre Dame has won 24 of them.
Dude, what is the whole point of this?
Alec literally said history.
He's trying to say so. Kirk Signetti era. Just Kirk Signetti.
Notre Dame owns.
He can
Indiana.
say that, and he's right.
Notre Dame owns Indiana. They're 1-0.
Wait, what?
I mean, that's what you're clinging to. So it's like you're saying because you beat our program, you're the better program. We have a national champion.
No, I'm just saying they're two separate things. Like,
so Miami's a better program than Notre Dame.
Yes, I'm sure they were. And actually, the past 2 years they have.
Well, actually, they beat us. No.
They did the same thing we did. They did the same thing we did. Realistically, the past 2 years, we're being real.
Hold on.
I mean, they beat you guys this year.
No, hold on.
But no, it's reverse order. They beat us. They beat us. Went to the Natty.
We own Miami because we're 17-9.
But what I'm saying
is the argument. NIU's a better program than Notre Dame because they beat us 2 years ago.
That's not
it's not even anything to do with this season.
Hold on, Sean. That's not what I said. I said they're two separate arguments. That was the point I was trying to make. Is I'm saying you can own the state, but that doesn't mean you own the other team. That's what I was trying to say. Like Purdue is not a better program than Indiana in football. Not even a discussion.
But pre-Signetti, they absolutely.
But head to head, yes, they own Indiana in football. That are two separate fucking arguments.
Do they have a better do they have a stronger head-to-head record all time against Indiana?
Yes.
Like it's indisputably yes.
Alex said pre-Signetti, Notre Dame's the better program, but he's just saying post.
But that's the key. But that's the key phrase is pre-Signetti.
He also said combination. It's not even close. Combination, but he's just saying that the last 2 years. So before Signetti, it's Notre Dame. Combination of everything, it's Notre Dame. But the last 2 years, it's Indiana. That's all he's saying.
Even though Notre Dame beat Signetti.
Yeah,
because they won the national championship.
But what Frabel's point is that in the head-to-head total, putting them on the field on the play matters. If you're going to look at everything total, Notre Dame just owns it outright. Pre-Signetti, post-Signetti, because they played a game. You could say Signetti wasn't ready. That's fine. But he's going to have opportunities to prove that he's better than Notre Dame in the future. But guess what? We're living off
won a national championship, something this school hasn't done in 38 years, dude.
Okay, but did you keep bringing it? The
number one prize in the sport. Beating Notre Dame. I'm sorry.
You compare two teams on the field
is not the number one goal of a college football season.
When you put two teams on the field, you're putting two teams on the field. Who came out the winner? That is our.
It's beating Indiana worth more than winning the national championship.
Oh my God!
You're clinging to something in 2024. That's
we're not clinging anything. We're using facts that we're talking about. This is
okay, Alec. Let me ask you this.
You're trying to measure a playoff game to a national championship.
We're not measuring anything to a national championship. We are playing a singular game of football. One game of football was played post-Signetti game there. Who won that game? That was Frabel's point. Every single time it's anything that has to do with, Notre Dame won this game. It's, you could hold on to that, but we have a national championship. You're right. And what we say does not matter. You have a national championship. I've said
it's a fact. Hold on, Alec. It's a fact you guys won a national championship. It's also a fact that in Signetti's time at Indiana, when he has played at Notre Dame, he has lost.
You're making it sound like he's played more than once, and you're making it sound like he got outcoached. Like that is not the full context of what happened, and it's to paint them as he went in there with the same team as Notre Dame and got outcoached and lost.
And he's also
disingenuous. It's frustrating.
No, he did get outcoached. No, he did get outcoached. We're not going to
Indiana winning the national championship and Notre Dame beating Indiana. That's not the same.
We're not comparing that.
Yes, you are, though.
Yes, we're comparing head-to-head on the field. That's what Freeble said.
Because that's my point. Is that head to head?
You're talking about one question versus the entire conversation. Like what?
That's the whole thing. Started off Freeble asking you, head to head on the field, does Notre Dame own IU? And you said no. Post Kirk Cignetti, they don't own IU.
Correct.
Head to head on the field, Notre Dame beat IU head to head on the field. The games have to matter, right?
You're talking about 20. Like, what are we talking about though? Like, you're saying that I didn't give Notre Dame any credit for winning in 2024. I'm telling you, the national championship matters more. And you're telling me no because Notre Dame won a playoff game at home against a team that wasn't as talented.
One team played another team.
You're crazy.
Team played another team. Who won? Who won the game?
I think.
All right. I think
we already run circles. I think
we're just going anywhere at this point.
That's 40 minutes.
Right.
This is homerism.
I think it's
homerism because they beat them on the field. Whatever, dude. IU's the greatest team of all time. No one's ever got to do what IU did. Greatest team ever. Kirk Cignetti should be sent to the fucking moon. They should build a statue on the moon. Kirk Cignetti. There we go.
I agree.
There you go. We agree on something.
All right.
We agree on something.
This was entertaining. Alec, I appreciate you coming on here and having this debate. It was entertaining. Got a little heated there. But I appreciate you taking the time to come on here, man. I know we wouldn't been here for a while. We were not planning on being on this for this long. But thank you for hopping on here, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me on. I promise this is all sports talk. It's not.
100%. There's no beef here. This is just us bullshitting.
No, absolutely none.
No beef. Yeah, we're chill. We're chill as fuck.
I hunt for these types of conversations where you can look up and it's been 2 hours and 40 minutes and it's you just blink and it's so. I appreciate the time, guys. Thank you.
Shake the hand across the camera, Alec. Wrong way. There you go. There you go.
What you doing? There you go,
All right, Alec. You take care, man. I appreciate you hopping on.
Appreciate you guys.
Well, that's Jesus.
Just for you guys to know, Seahawks did not own the Patriots last year.
Hey, wait. Let's end this show. Let's end this show. Hey, hold on. That's such a good argument, though. The Seahawks are a better organization than the Patriots because they beat them in one Super Bowl.
He literally said, he didn't say that. He said that Notre Dame's the better program. But let's say this: since 2025, Seattle's better than the Patriots.
But my problem with what the statement was is Vrabel made it openly clear, head to head on the field, and then he said, well, Kirk Cignetti in the past 2 years is better head-to-head on the field. We played them head-to-head. I understand if you want to cut it down to that, but that's just not true. You're not better on the field head-to-head.
When they went, like Sean, that's our point. When the two have played,
that was the peer situation. It wasn't like who has the better seasons.
I wasn't saying that head-to-head.
I know what you weren't saying. I know what you weren't saying.
Like Notre Dame, it's a fact. Notre Dame owns Indiana when it comes to the sport of football, head to head.
He didn't say otherwise.
Yes,
No, Sean.
He said overall, Notre Dame owns the sport.
No, Sean.
But since Cignetti, that Notre Dame owns the sport.
We might just have to go back and watch it.
Sean, you might have to, because I know you've been cut out.
I'm not lying, Sean. On word for word by Vrabel was head to head on the field. Would you say Notre Dame owns Indiana head to head on the field? And he said Kirk Cignetti the past 2 years. Like, no, they don't own Kirk Cignetti the past 2 years.
Maybe he just didn't understand the question.
He might have not. I'm not, and that's why I'm not going to. That's why I'm not like, oh, I hate him. Like, no, that might be it. Like, I'm not. At the end of the day, it's just a conversation, so it's not the end of the world.
Oh,
like.
Notre Dame owns. I think overall, yes, but this year, like Indiana won. Like I'm not. Even
Indiana had the better season without a doubt. Like I would. At the end of the day, what the fuck do we say? That doesn't matter. What do we say? It doesn't matter.
They have. The last
they have national championships. That's all that matters. Like
we've been on here for 2.5 hours, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing over with. Shout out to Alec Keyser for hopping on. I know we're kind of simulcasting this on the Voice of College Football Indiana channel.
Shit!
How many?
That's why we've got because we wanted to get like mixed people. That's why you got Indiana people in the chat talking shit. You got Notre Dame people in the chat talking shit. So
whoever the Matthew guy is, went in on him.
How many views?
We have 176 right now.
Okay.
So I want to thank all the 176 of you tuning in live, whether that's on YouTube or X. Make sure you go over to drop a sub, like, and comment to the Boys College Football Notre Dame YouTube channel. This has been Notre Dame Primetime Live, presented by FanDuel. I've been your host, Ryan Favell. For my co-hosts, Ben and Sean, we'll be back next week. Same time. As always, everybody, stay safe and go Irish.
Go Irish.